Chapter 13:20. Zhou had tried to infuriate Drought Demon from the beginning, not because he was arrogant, nor did he really believe that he could stand above a calamity-grade creature. The immortal culling sword was indeed very powerful, but Zhou was too weak. He wasn't able to unleash the full power of the immortal culling sword. It was fine to occasionally strike, but if he failed, he basically didn't have the ability to continue fighting. The reason why he had wanted to infuriate Drought Demon from the beginning was because of Truth Listener's ability. During this period of time, Zhou had basically figured out Truth Listener's ability. Just as he had imagined, Truth Listener did have the ability to hear the thoughts of others. However, this ability wasn't perfect. Under normal circumstances, it couldn't hear the other party's thoughts. Only when the other party's emotions were extremely fluctuating could it be heard. Drought Demon had never suffered such humiliation before. At that moment, her emotions were extremely volatile. Zhou finally felt the sea of voices around him gradually dissipate. Although Drought Demon didn't say a word, a voice sounded from her. "I want to roast him inch by inch and let him taste all the pain in the world. I'll make him beg for death and regret being born into this world. However, the sword in his hand is a little odd. It can actually injure my body, and I haven't fused with a human's body. I'm suppressed by Earth's laws and can't leave the fiend tomb." Drought Demon didn't say a word, but her thoughts betrayed all her thoughts to Zhou. Zhou was overjoyed when he heard the Drought Demon goddess's voice. However, his face was calm and composed. He was still thinking that if his strike failed and Truth Listener couldn't be summoned, it would be difficult for him to fight a calamity-grade creature. He might even have to flee. At most, he could take Zhang Yuji with him and escape. He only had this much power and could only do so many things. Now that he knew that Drought Demon couldn't leave the fiend tomb and that her strength was suppressed by Earth's laws, preventing her from fully unleashing her strength in battle, he immediately felt a lot more at ease. Zhou thought to himself, "Since you can't come out and can't use your full strength, and I can hear your thoughts, this matter might still work." Drought Demon was pondering. "That sword is a little strange. It can even slice through my Drought Demon body. It's indeed quite powerful. However, the strength of that human should not have reached the calamity grade. He is only borrowing the power of the sword. I do not need to fight with that sword. As long as I kill that human, the sword will naturally be useless." Drought Maiden-sized Zhou went up and thought, "If I don't go out, I might not be able to injure him if I use heavenly fire that covers a large area. From the looks of it, I have to expend some of my intrinsic quintessential essence and use annihilation art to kill that human." Goddess Drought Ba stared at Zhou as her essence energy flowed towards her fingers. Zhou sensed that Goddess Hamba's voice was slowly weakening. He knew that it had been some time and that her emotions were gradually stabilizing. Therefore, he continued goading her. "Why are you still standing there? I've said it before. If I can't kill you with one strike, I'll spare your life. However, the death penalty can be avoided, but the punishment cannot be forgiven. Go back to the fiend tomb and reflect on your mistakes. As long as I am alive, you will never come out. Go." Goddess Hamba was furious. Her emotions that had just calmed down were instantly stirred up by Zhou again. Goddess Hamba had a bad temper. Otherwise, she would not have been able to fight against two terrifying existences, Count of the Wind and Master of the Rain in the mythological era. However, it was also because of that battle that Goddess Hamba's essence energy was greatly damaged. She had no choice but to recuperate in the earth fire. Later on, the ancestral celestial master of the Zhang family took the opportunity to seal her. Annihilation art. Die. Goddess Hamba was already extremely furious. One of her hands turned invisible and grabbed at the void. The instant before Goddess Hamba made her move, Zhou figure drifted to the side. After he moved, the ground where he was originally standing and the rocks that had been burned into crystals suddenly cracked. A cylindrical crystal with a diameter of several meters was forcibly pulled out from the crystal. The crystal pillar was pulled out a few hundred meters high before it mysteriously disappeared. Only a circular hole that was a few hundred meters deep was left on the ground. Goddess Hamba was shocked. Her annihilation art was unique in the world. It killed people invisibly. When she attacked, the enemy would not be able to detect it at all. When the annihilation art reached them, it was already too late to escape. Back then, Goddess Hamba relied on the annihilation art to roam the world. She had killed countless terrifying guardians and creatures of other dimensions. Her name struck terror in people. The name of Hamba was practically synonymous with death. Even if there were people who could resist it, there were extremely few powerful existences. Almost all of them were invincible experts of their era. However, most of them could only forcefully endure the annihilation art. In Goddess Hamba's memory, she had only met one person who could evade it like Zhou. Could it be that this fellow is related to the Empress? Drought Maiden sized up Zhou in bewilderment. However, from the essence chi fluctuations that Zhou emitted, he was different from the one that Goddess Hamba imagined. Or it could be said that they were two completely different types of energy that could not be related. Is it a coincidence? Goddess Hamba activated the annihilation art once again. The drought demon goddess would never have guessed that Zhou was able to dodge her annihilation art. It was because she had already told him the timing and location of the annihilation art. All he needed to do was evade it in advance. If Zhou only relied on his senses, he would not be able to dodge the annihilation art. Goddess Hamba's annihilation art was naturally dodged by Zhou again. Impossible. Goddess Hamba was shocked when she saw that Zhou had actually dodged it again. I've said before, if you can survive a strike from me, I'll spare your life. However, if you insist on seeking death, I can't not fulfill your wish. Zhou slowly walked towards Goddess Hamba. As he walked, he said, if you haven't gone back to reflect on your mistakes by the time I reach the Fiend Tomb, there's no need for you to go back. Goddess Hamba was shocked and furious. She steeled her heart and struck out with the annihilation art again and again. Unfortunately, Zhou had already heard all of her thoughts. He had even formed an image in his mind, so he knew where her next strike would land. Therefore, she saw Zhou's figure floating like an immortal. It was as though he was taking a leisurely stroll in the courtyard. With every step, he dodged Goddess Hamba's annihilation art. Goddess Hamba's frenzied attacks did not touch Zhou at all. Seeing that Zhou had already walked to the front of the Fiend Tomb, Goddess Hamba was extremely shocked. Does he really have a great divine power? It's just that he's too strong and has hidden it very well. That's why I can't tell. Otherwise, if he could dodge my annihilation art so easily, it's as though he can predict the future. The way Zhou dodged the annihilation art made Goddess Hamba think of the Great Empress. Although their essence chi waves were completely different, the way he dodged the annihilation art was very similar. Therefore, she was even more shocked and doubtful. Chapter 13:21. The people of the Zhang family were extremely excited when they saw that the human emperor didn't even draw his sword. He just walked casually and neutralized the ghostly attack of Goddess Hamba. However, some people disapproved of the human emperor's actions. They felt that the human emperor shouldn't be soft-hearted. He should have just killed Goddess Hamba. Why did he have to give her a chance? It was equivalent to releasing a tiger back into the mountains. Goddess Hamba was also somewhat puzzled. If the person in front of her was really strong, why did he have to talk nonsense with her? He could have just drawn his sword and killed her. Why did he have to give her a chance? Goddess Hamba was still hesitant as she watched Zhou walk towards her. She was once an invincible existence, after all. In that era, humans were not even comparable to ants in front of her. She could travel thousands of miles in a day, and wherever she passed, she wouldn't even spare a glance. Tens of thousands of humans would be roasted into charcoal by the heavenly fire on her body, and that was just an unconscious action of hers. In this era, she was actually asked to lower her head and admit defeat to a human. She also had to reflect on her mistakes. She couldn't take this lying down. Goddess Hamba even thought that even if the human emperor really had the ability to kill her, he would at most fight to the death. It was simply a dream for her to lower her head to a human. Of course, Zhou didn't really want to kill Goddess Hamba. Even if he really wanted to, he didn't have the ability to do so. With Di Ting's ability, he could scare Goddess Hamba. If they really fought, he was definitely not a match for her. Seeing that he was getting closer to the Fiend Tomb and was only a few steps away, Goddess Hamba still had no intention of returning to the Fiend Tomb. 3 steps, 2 steps, 1 step. Zhou was already standing in front of the Fiend Tomb, but Goddess Hamba still had no intention of returning. She was still attacking. Clearly, she had made up her mind to fight to the death. Seeing this situation, the people of the Zhang family felt that the human emperor could only fight Goddess Hamba. They even looked forward to seeing if the human emperor could kill Goddess Hamba. Zhou grabbed the hilt of the immortal culling sword again, but he didn't pull it out. Instead, he sighed softly and said regretfully, "I'm the only one in the world. All the gods and demons in the world have to worship me. Can't I accept your worship?" When the members of the Zhang family heard Zhou suddenly say that, they were slightly taken aback. Although human emperor was powerful and was publicly recognized as the #1 expert of the human race, it was too much to say that he was the supreme being in the world and that all the gods and demons had to worship him. Wasn't that a little too arrogant? Moreover, anyone could see that Goddess Hamba was prepared to fight to the death. How could she possibly bow down to him? However, when the Drought Maiden heard that, her body trembled. She stared at Zhou in disbelief. She was simply too familiar with those words. Back then, her Lady Empress had also stood before her and said those words. Although she couldn't see Zhou's face, Zhou's tone and demeanor resembled the Great Empress back then. Furthermore, only she and the Great Empress were present back then. It was unlikely that anyone else knew about it. For a moment, Goddess Hamba was in a daze. It was as though she had seen the Great Empress again. "What are you still standing there for? Are you waiting for me to send you off?" Zhou had eavesdropped on her thoughts and knew the scene of her and the Great Empress back then. That was why he said that. This sentence made Goddess Hamba feel as though she was struck by lightning. She looked at Zhou with a complicated expression as though she had seen a ghost. Something unexpected happened. Although Goddess Hamba, who was prepared to fight to the death, didn't really bow, she bowed to human emperor before turning around and disappearing into the Fiend Tomb. The surging earth fire also quickly retracted with Goddess Hamba's disappearance. In a moment, all the flames in the sky returned to the Fiend Tomb. Only a voice echoed in the air. "I'll wait for the day you pass away." Zhang Xiao and the rest were astonished. Goddess Hamba's words were tantamount to admitting what human emperor had said previously. As long as human emperor didn't die, she wouldn't appear. With Goddess Hamba's return to the Fiend Tomb, the signs of demonization on the Zhang family members improved. However, they didn't completely recover, especially those like Zhang Chuanxiu, who were severely demonized. There weren't many changes. His hair was still white, and his eyes and nails were as white as jade. However, his complexion looked much better. He wasn't as pale as before. Your grace is something that the Zhang family can't repay. If you need the Zhang family's help in the future, just say the word. As long as it doesn't violate human ethics, I, Zhang Xiao, will definitely be there. Zhang Xiao only mentioned his name in the end, but he didn't mention the Zhang family. His words sounded like he was avoiding the important and dwelling on the trivial, but from another perspective, it was also a serious promise. I hope that the Zhang family will live up to your words in the future. After Zhou said that, he glanced at Uncle Zhang before turning around and tearing through the air. In an instant, he transformed into a stream of light and vanished. Uncle Zhang's face turned red. He was undoubtedly the representative of the Zhang family who wanted to live on his knees. Zhang Yuji supported Zhang Chuanxiu and looked in the direction where Zhou had disappeared, seemingly deep in thought. Human Emperor is really not something we can reach. In the past, I thought that Human Emperor was only one step ahead of me. Sooner or later, I would be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. From the looks of it today, it's not just one step. Zhang Chuanxiu marveled before smiling. Thankfully, that's the case. Otherwise, our Zhang family would be finished. This Human Emperor is indeed interesting. I wonder if his true identity is a pure human. If he's a pure human, he deserves the title of human emperor. Probably. Zhang Yuji's eyes were complicated as she was somewhat distracted. On the way back, Zhang Yuji suddenly thought of something. She took out her phone and sent a message. Zhou Wen was riding the earth elemental beast when he happened to arrive at a place with a signal. When he heard the message, he took out his phone to take a look. When he realized that it was from Zhang Yuji, he clicked it open and nearly fell off the earth elemental beast's back. Your Majesty, help me plant flowers again next time. Listen to music. It should be a guess, right? Zhou Wen was alarmed and puzzled. He didn't know how Zhang Yuji could tell that he was human emperor. He hurriedly replied, "Did you send it to the wrong person? Do you know human emperor?" After Zhou Wen sent the message, he waited uneasily for Zhang Yuji's reply. However, after waiting for a while, his message was like a rock sinking into the sea. There was no response at all. Zhang Yuji looked at Zhou Wen's reply on her phone and revealed a sly smile. She closed the conversation box and placed her hand on her chest. She closed her eyes and muttered to herself with a smile, "With you around, I won't be afraid of the dark anymore." Zhang Yuji's mind kept echoing the words, "The one who shouldn't die isn't you. It's those who made you cry." Chapter 1322. After waiting for a long time, Zhou Wen finally received a message. However, it wasn't from Zhang Yuji, but Hui Haifeng. "Junior brother, I've gotten all the lucky companion beasts that could be obtained. See if it's enough." There was a list behind Hui Haifeng's message. Zhou Wen took a look and realized that there were a total of 11 different types of lucky companion eggs. 2 were at the mythical stage, 6 were at the epic stage, and 2 were at the legendary stage. There was even a lucky companion beast at the mortal stage. A companion beast at the mortal stage is already very rare, but it actually has the luck attribute. This is really rare. However, even if a companion beast at the mortal stage adds luck, it shouldn't add much, right? Zhou Wen replied, "That's enough. Give me 2 days to prepare before I come to you." "There's no need. Just stay in Luoyang. I've already sent someone over. I've also sent the companion beasts over for you. They should be able to reach Luoyang tonight," Hui Haifeng replied. "That works too." Zhou Wen didn't insist. As long as he had the magic cube, it didn't matter where he entered the Venus dimensional zone. "Junior brother, I've left them to you. They're the people who benefit the most from me. Don't lose them." Hui Haifeng sent another message. "Actually, I can go in alone." Zhou Wen felt that it was safer to go alone. "All right, then you have to wear a Federation uniform and stick a small red flag above your head." "Just right, Federation soldier," Hui Haifeng replied. "I'll bring them up." Zhou Wen thought for a moment and felt that it wasn't a good image. Whatever you say. In order to obtain these lucky companion beasts for you, I spent a huge sum of money. I believe no one can gather such a powerful lineup of lucky companion beasts. Why do you need so many lucky companion beasts? According to what I know, although lucky companion beasts can increase the chances of obtaining dimensional crystals and companion eggs in a certain way, there's actually a threshold. Once it exceeds a certain amount of luck, no matter how many lucky companion beasts you wear, there won't be much of an improvement, Hui Haifeng asked curiously. "You'll know in the future." Zhou Wen wasn't in the mood to chat with him. He was in a hurry to rush back to Luoyang to see the lucky companion beasts. This was because the average person could only rely on the information and experience transmitted by companion beasts to determine the attributes of companion beasts. They were unable to see the exact information. Therefore, Hui Haifeng only knew that they were companion beasts with luck bonuses, but he wasn't sure how much luck they added. "Master," just as Zhou Wen returned to Luoyang's and family, he saw Hui Play rush over. "Why are you here?" Zhou Wen was somewhat surprised that Hui Haifeng had followed him. Now, the roads were filled with dimensional zones that had been breached. It was difficult to guarantee his safety. Hui Play could be said to be the future hope of the Hui family. It was too risky to let him out now. "I said I wanted to learn from Master, so Father agreed to let me come along," Hui Play said. Zhou Wen thought to himself, "Learn from me? What do you learn from me?" "I'll learn from you." Hui Quan's talent was too high. No matter what he learned, he could learn it with a single glance. Things like photographic memory, and reading 10 lines at a glance were nothing to Hui Quan. Zhou suspected that Hui Haifeng had created some advanced technology and created a smart son. Back when Zhou was at the Hui family, he had already taught Hui how to play. However, most of the things he knew could only be understood and not explained. Zhou had already taught him everything that could be explained. Now that he was asked to teach again, he really had nothing to say. "Mr. Zhou, this is what the president instructed us to bring you. Please accept it." An officer in his 30s came in front of Zhou, one with a few other officers. He looked very strange. His face was expressionless. His eyebrows, beard, and facial features looked fake, but Zhou was certain that it was just a feeling. There was no special disguise on his face. He looked just like that in real life. There were a total of 11 of them, and each of them had a safe locked on their wrists. Zhou didn't need to guess to know that they were the 11 lucky companion eggs that Hui Haifeng had sent over. These 11 officers were likely sent over by Hui Haifeng. When the officers opened the safes, they used the keys in their hands to open the safes of different people. And inside the safes were some special devices. It was as though they could destroy the companion eggs inside the safes as long as they were touched. It was understandable that Hui Haifeng would do so. Although the level of this batch of companion eggs wasn't high, their value was very high. He had to be careful. After Zhou signed for it, the expressionless officer who looked like he was wearing a mask said, "The president's orders. From now on, we will listen to your orders. Even if you want us to die, we will definitely carry out your orders immediately." "Very good. Go back and rest." Zhou nodded. Yes. The soldier didn't ask any questions as he led them back to rest. "Master, the things taught by the coaches at home are so boring. I've long wanted to look for you. What else can you teach me?" Hui Quan asked as he followed behind Zhou. "You've already learned very well. Play for 2 days," Zhou said. "Master, I know that the things you know are very profound. I might not be able to learn them now, but I will definitely work hard," Hui Quan said with a serious expression. Zhou looked at Hui Play's serious expression and really couldn't say anything else to shirk the responsibility. However, he wasn't good at teaching to begin with. After some thought, he couldn't think of anything to teach him. Just as he was in a dilemma, he suddenly saw Li Xian walk out of the manor. He didn't know why this fellow had come to the Yin family. Zhou was delighted as he coughed lightly and said to Hui Quan, "Teaching by example is better than words. While you were at home, you should have learned quite a lot of the theories of others. It's time for some actual combat training." "Master, you want to spar with me?" Hui Quan's eyes immediately lit up. "I was the one who taught you. I know you like the back of my hand. There won't be any effect if you spar with me," Zhou said. "Then what should we do?" Hui Quan said anxiously. "Do you see that person? He's also your father's junior. In that case, you should call him Uncle Master. Spar with him first," Zhou said as he pointed at Li Xian. "Is he very powerful?" Hui Quan sized up the frivolous Li Xian and was very doubtful. "He's average. He can only last 3 strikes from me, but it's enough to be your sparring partner," Zhou said. "Master, don't worry. I'll work hard." Hui Quan was even less motivated when he heard that, but he couldn't refute Zhou. He only thought to himself, he can only last 3 strikes for Master. He's not that strong. I'll think of a way to defeat him later and let Master see my improvement. Then, he will probably spar with me personally. Old Zhou, whose child is this? What's he doing? Li Xian walked over and asked. Hui Haifeng's son. He wanted to teach him. Coincidentally, I have something on at the moment. Help me teach him first, Zhou said. Old Huey's son. I have to teach him well. Don't worry. Leave it to me, Li Xian said as he patted his chest. Then I'll leave it to you. I'll get busy. Before Zhou left, he exhorted Hui Quan, little play, learn well from your Uncle Li. You'll benefit from it for the rest of your life. When Zhou returned to his room, he eagerly took out the 11 companion eggs and used his phone to appraise their attributes. Chapter 1323. The 2 mythical companion beasts were the Lucky Stone Sprite and the Good Luck Flower King. Like the baby tiger, they had a lucky life providence, but they added more luck than the baby tiger. The Lucky Stone Sprite gave +9 luck, while the Good Luck Flower gave +7 luck. The 6 epic companion beasts each added 3 to 6 luck. As for the 2 legendary companion beasts, they gave +1 luck. The Lucky Stone Sprite's companion form was a bracelet, while the Good Luck Flower King was a ring. There were all sorts of epic and legendary companion beasts. Zhou did some calculations. Apart from the 2 companion beast companion forms that conflicted with the companion beasts he needed to use, there was one that didn't have a companion form. The rest could be used together. The Mortal Stage Lucky Companion Beast surprised Zhou because it didn't have a luck stat. As for why it was treated as a lucky companion beast, Zhou guessed that it had something to do with its skill. It was obvious that a Mortal Stage companion beast hadn't revealed its life providence, so it was naturally impossible for it to have a lucky life providence. After carefully looking at the companion beast's information, Zhou realized that it wasn't the case. Death Raven, Mortal Stage Strength, 11 Speed, 11 Constitution, 11 Primordial Energy, 11 Talent Skill, Death Companion Form. Wings. After Zhou carefully looked at its stats, he cursed inwardly. He hurriedly found the list Hui Haifeng had given him. He remembered that there was no Death Raven on the list. Indeed, the only Mortal Stage companion beast on the list was named Magpie, also known as Good News Bird. It wasn't a Death Raven. After careful comparison, Zhou knew that Hui Haifeng must have made a mistake when purchasing it. The Morning Raven's companion egg was very similar to a magpie's. Just from their appearance, it was likely that he had mistaken the Morning Raven for a congratulatory bird. As for whether the person who sold Hui Haifeng the companion egg really didn't know or did it on purpose, Zhou didn't know. This Death Raven is a little odd. It's clearly a low-level mortal companion beast without any evolvable stats, but it has all 11 stats. That's really rare. Zhou thought for a moment and hatched the Death Raven and the other lucky companion eggs. Although reporting for a funeral was indeed annoying, Zhou had always heard from the former principal that good medicine was bitter and true words were heart-wrenching. Reporting for a funeral wasn't a good thing, but it was quite a good ability to give early warnings. After the incubation, Zhou entered the game and wore all the lucky equipment he could wear. Of course, the most important thing was the Heavenly Robe. The Heavenly Robe had a special luck evasion ability. As long as the luck attribute was in effect, it could dodge attacks that were originally impossible to dodge. However, Tianyi's luck was limited. The chances of him dodging with luck were also very low. Zhou had already tested it before. When facing Golden Battle God's bullets, he only had a 10% chance of dodging them. In any case, Zhou had never successfully dodged a Calamity-grade bullet. What Zhou wanted to test now was to see if the other lucky equipment on him would affect Heavenly Robe's lucky dodge ability. After entering the dungeon, the metal guards fired their bullets at Zhou. Zhou stood there without moving. The Heavenly Robe on his body seemed to flutter despite the lack of wind, making him look like an immortal in the wind. The bullets strangely circled around Zhou's body in mist. A large number of bullets shot over, but none of them hit Zhou. All of them automatically deviated from their trajectories. Zhou was slightly delighted. Although Heavenly Robes could easily dodge the Metal Guard's bullets in the past, it wasn't as exaggerated. Previously, Heavenly Robes would still pull Zhou's body to dodge the bullets. However, Zhou was standing there without moving. Just as Heavenly Robes fluttering allowed him to dodge all the bullets. Clearly, Heavenly Robe's lucky dodge ability had been strengthened. I wonder how high Heavenly Robe's dodging efficiency is when facing a Terror-grade Golden Battle God. Zhou casually killed all the Metal Guards and waited for the Golden Battle God to appear. Soon, Golden Battle God Type 1 rushed out. His frost bullet shot out at speed that ordinary humans couldn't keep up with. Zhou didn't move. He was here purely for the test. Even if he was beaten to death, he had no intention of moving. Heavenly Robes fluttered as the Terror-grade frost bullet brushed past Heavenly Robe's sleeve and hit the metal building's wall, causing an icy mist to erupt. I dodged the first shot. This effect is a little strong. I'm afraid there's at least a 50% chance. Zhou was even more delighted. He didn't take action and allowed the Golden Battle God to shoot at him. A scene that surprised and delighted Zhou when happened. No matter how crazy the golden battle god's shooting was, even if Zhou, when stood still, not a single bullet from the golden battle god could hit him. Too powerful. Could it be that with the augmentation of so much luck equipment, Heavenly Rope's lucky dodge has already reached 100%? Zhou Wen dodged more than 100 bullets in a row, but he still wasn't hit. Without continuing the test, Zhou Wen killed the golden battle gods one by one. He wanted to see if Heavenly Robes could dodge a calamity-grade bullet. The alarm sounded, and Zhou Wen was somewhat nervous. When a bullet sounded, Zhou Wen didn't react at all. However, the bullet didn't hit Zhou Wen. Heavenly Robes moved with Zhou Wen's body, dodging the calamity-grade bullet. Holy **T. I really dodged it. I'm rich. With this divine artifact, what's there to be afraid of? Calamity-grade bullets. Zhou Wen had died too many times in the Venus dungeon. He couldn't help but be excited when he suddenly made this discovery. However, he wasn't sure. He took another shot as an experiment, but he managed to dodge it again. This is great. With Heavenly Robes in hand, I have luck. Who else? Who else can kill me? Zhou Wen felt as though he had eaten a ginseng fruit, as his entire body felt comfortable. Bam! With a gunshot, Zhou Wen saw the blood-colored avatar's head explode as the screen went black. The smile on his face instantly turned into shock as his O-shaped mouth didn't close for a long time. Are you kidding me? The third shot hit again? Zhou Wen calmed down and thought about it carefully. He felt that since he could dodge the first two shots, the third shot's might was about the same as the first two. It wasn't the seventh shot that would definitely kill him. It was highly likely that he didn't have enough luck to dodge this shot. When facing a calamity grade, he didn't have a 100% luck dodge. I have to get some more luck equipment to try. Perhaps I can really dodge calamity grade bullets with 100% accuracy. Zhou Wen thought about where he could get more luck equipment. He had even used the Goddess of Luck necklace that Jing Daoxian had given him to achieve such an effect. He was momentarily at a loss as to where he could get luck companion beasts. Chapter 1324. Zhou Wen did a lot of research and realized that this lucky companion beast was indeed very rare. It was basically something that could only be chanced upon. Ignoring a mythical lucky companion beast, even an epic lucky companion beast was rare. He asked Gu Jian about it, but the results weren't good. There were 2 lucky companion beasts on the black market, but due to their high prices, no one was willing to buy them. They had been auctioned off a few days ago. Gu Jian refused to say who had bid for them. That was his professional ethics. However, even if he didn't say it, Zhou Wen already knew. This was because the 2 companion beasts were on him. After a round of investigation, Zhou Wen knew that he definitely couldn't find any lucky companion beasts. Hui Haifeng had basically plundered all the lucky companion beasts he could get his hands on. Not only did he spend a huge sum of money, it was very likely that he had used his connections and special items to trade. It was almost impossible for Zhou Wen to obtain any lucky companion beasts from the market. Zhou Wen suddenly thought of Wang Lu. Wang Lu had a lucky life providence, and she had quite a number of lucky companion beasts. He wondered if any of them had hatched. Do you have time? I have something to ask you. Zhou Wen sent Wang Lu a message. So you only think of me when you're in trouble. Soon, Wang Lu sent a message. Zhou Wen originally wanted to explain, but on second thought, it did seem to be the case. Every time he took the initiative to send a message to Wang Lu, it seemed like he needed her help. He couldn't help but blush and couldn't bring himself to ask for Wang Lu's help. All right, I know you're a busy person. If there's anything, just say it. After all, you haven't paid off the food you owe me. A few more meals won't make a difference. Wang Lu sent another message. I'll treat you to a meal in a few days, Zhou Wen replied in embarrassment. Then I'll have to give you a good beating. I'll make you bleed. Wang Lu asked again, what's the matter? Hurry up and tell me. I just want to ask if you have any lucky companion beasts. I want to buy a few, Zhou Wen said. I have lucky companion beasts, but I'm not selling them. Wang Lu quickly sent a message back. Zhou Wen was only somewhat disappointed, but he didn't think that Wang Lu was wrong. Lucky companion beasts meant more to Wang Lu than the average person. When an ordinary person obtained a lucky companion beast, they could only increase their luck by a little. However, Wang Lu had enhanced her life providence, making it much more effective than the average person. It could be said that a lucky companion beast was similar to Wang Lu's exclusive companion beast. I was too muddle-headed. Wang Lu doesn't even have time to collect lucky companion beasts. Why would she sell them? Zhou felt that he was a little stupid. He hadn't thought of this before. He shouldn't have asked Wang Lu. By asking, he had placed her in a difficult position. I'm just asking. It's not of much use. I'll look for you in 2 days and treat you to a feast, Zhou sent a message. I definitely won't sell it, but if you need it urgently, I can lend it to you temporarily. What do you want a lucky pet for? Wang Lu sent another message. Can I borrow it? Zhou was delighted as he hurriedly said, I want to use a lucky pet to charge into the Venus dimensional zone. Is it convenient for me to borrow it? Ordinary people wouldn't be able to return a companion egg after it hatched. However, Zhou had the sky-stealing, sun-shifting art, so it wasn't difficult for him to return it. All right, come to my house to get it. It's not convenient for me to go out recently, Wang Lu said. Wait for me. Zhou was overjoyed as he immediately rushed to the Wang family. Zhou left just like that. The officers sent by Hui Haifeng couldn't help but mutter inwardly. They had doubts about whether Zhou could lead them to the top of the rankings. They only believed in Hui Haifeng, but it didn't mean that they had complete trust in Zhou. At the very least, from Zhou's current performance, it didn't make them feel at ease. They had been here for 2 days and had only met Zhou once. After that, they didn't even get to see him. There was no training, no cooperation, or even a plan. When the time came, they had no idea how to attack the Venus dimensional zone together. Anyone in their shoes would feel uneasy. After all, this was a matter of life and death. Captain Wei, do you think this Zhou is reliable? An officer asked Wei Yang in a low voice. Wei Yang was the soldier with a rigid face. His facial features looked like they had been painted on. He was the captain of this special operations team. Without waiting for Wei Yang to return, the officer continued. The creatures that can enter the rankings are either calamities or large organizations like the Holy Spirit Society and the League of Defender. The Holy Spirit Society has the augmentation of Fairy Peacock and True Marshal, as well as an invincible existence like Ya. The League of Defender has the power of time and space as a guarantee. What do we have? Can Zhou really lead us to the top of the rankings? In fact, it wasn't just him. Many officers had such concerns. Zhou was indeed famous, but compared to large organizations like the Holy Spirit Society and the League of Defender, there was still a certain gap. Furthermore, it seemed difficult for a single person's strength to compete with the collective strength. As soldiers, they could only obey orders, but they would be lying to themselves if they said that they weren't nervous or afraid. Wei Yang said expressionlessly, Zhou's strength is undoubtedly top-notch among humans. From his past achievements, we can tell that this person is definitely not simple. Furthermore, even the president holds him in such high regard. I believe he must be someone with true talent. We don't need to worry about this. We just need to make preparations and help him rush up the rankings. What can we prepare? The president wants us to listen to his orders, but we can't even see him, the officer said gloomily. Wei Yang's expression remained unchanged as he said calmly, the president has always been meticulous and considerate. If the president says that Zhou can do it, he definitely can. Zhou probably has his own plans for not meeting us now. We just need to adjust our condition and unleash our greatest strength when the time comes. Although the officers were somewhat uneasy, they were influenced by Wei Yang. This uneasiness didn't continue spreading. Instead, it lessened significantly. However, they were still very dissatisfied with Zhou's actions. Zhou rushed to the Wang family overnight. Unfortunately, there were too many dimensional zones on the way. With his abilities, there was no way he could directly reach the Wang family. All he could do was constantly teleport and circle around dimensional zones that hadn't been explored by humans. Thankfully, nothing happened along the way. In less than 2 days, Zhou rushed to the Wang family. When Wang Lu saw Zhou, she curled her lips and said, If it weren't for borrowing companion beasts, are you planning on not taking the initiative to repay your debts for the rest of your life? Chapter 13:25. As the saying goes, it's not burdensome to have too much debt. I'll owe a little more so that I can repay them together later, Zhou said. Wang Lu burst into laughter and rolled her eyes at Zhou. Which planet's saying is that from? Of course it's from Earth, Zhou said. On Earth, there's only the saying that it's not burdensome to have too much debt, Wang Lu said. Is that so? Zhou asked, pretending to be at a loss. All right, stop pretending. You're already here today, so you have to return some first, Wang Lu said. All right, tell me, what do you want to eat? I have enough money to eat a bowl of seafood noodles without seafood. After not seeing her for a long time, Zhou didn't feel unfamiliar at all. Wang Lu was still the same Wang Lu from before, as though they had met not long ago. After all, you're now number 3 in Luoyang. Can you not be so stingy? Wang Lu said unhappily. What number 3? Zhou was slightly taken aback. Apart from Lung Zongjing and in Tianzhua, you are the most important person in Luoyang. If you aren't number 3, what are you? Wang Lu paused for a moment before continuing. Let's not stand outside and talk. Let's go in first. Tell me, how do you plan on attacking the Venus Dimensional Zone? Zhou followed Wang Lu into the Wang family's residence and realized that it was the back door. Inside was a garden, and there was no one around. Wang Lu led the way as Zhou recounted Hui Haifeng's request for him to ascend the rankings and his plans. I've never heard of using luck to dodge attacks. Are you confident? If you fail to dodge when facing a calamity-grade creature, only death awaits you, Wang Lu said worriedly. Don't worry. You know me well. I still have other tricks up my sleeves. Even if I can't dodge, I won't be killed. I'll definitely return alive, Zhou said confidently. It's good that you have plans. Wang Lu sized up Zhou and suddenly said, Extend your hand. What for? Zhou asked in puzzlement as he extended his hand in front of Wang Lu. Didn't you want to borrow a companion beast? As Wang Lu spoke, she reached out and pressed her palm against Zhou's right palm. A ball of dazzling light suddenly flashed between their palms. What are you doing? Zhou was alarmed when he felt waves of energy boring into his palm. He wasn't shocked because he was afraid, but worried for Wang Lu. He originally wanted to borrow Wang Lu's companion egg and return it to her after he was done using it. However, he never expected Wang Lu to transfer the contracted companion beast to him. With the sky-stealing, sun-shifting art, transferring a companion beast wasn't a problem. However, Wang Lu didn't know the sky-stealing, sun-shifting art. God knew what price she had to pay to transfer a companion beast to Zhou. If an ordinary person were to transfer a companion beast, they would lose at least half their life. If they were unlucky, they might even die. Although he knew that Wang Lu likely had some special means, she usually had to pay a certain price. Techniques like the sky-stealing, sun-shifting art were too rare. Didn't I want to lend you my pet? Wang Lu said with a smile, but her hands didn't stop moving. The glow in her palm intensified as it constantly transformed into a stream of light that stabbed into Zhou's palm. If I had known this would be the case, I wouldn't have come, Zhou said with a bitter smile. Now that things were halfway through, it was impossible for Zhou to forcefully stop. If he did, not only would he injure Wang Lu, but he would also probably lose the companion beast that had been transferred halfway. It's just transferring a companion beast. It's not difficult for me. However, I definitely have to remember this debt. You will have to return it in the future, Wang Lu said. Zhou shook his head and didn't say a word as he waited for the transfer of the companion beast to be completed. The transfer of the companion beast seemed to take a long time. After half an hour, the transfer hadn't been completed. What companion beast is this? Zhou felt that something was amiss. However, the energy that had already been transferred wasn't as simple as the mythical stage. Of course it's a lucky companion beast. Can I give you an unlucky companion beast? Wang Lu curled her lips. Terror grade? Zhou stared at Wang Lu and asked. That's right. I can't take out a companion beast that's too weak, Wang Lu said. Zhou couldn't help but frown. The higher the level of a companion beast, the higher the difficulty of transferring it. The price to transfer a Terragray companion beast was definitely not small. Now, Zhou really regretted it. If anything happened to Wang Lu, he wouldn't be able to bear the responsibility. Almost an hour later, the light in Wang Lu's palm gradually converged until it disappeared. As for Zhou palm, there was an additional star pattern. Are you all right? Zhou didn't look at what companion beast. It was as he stared at Wang Lu and constantly sized her up. What can happen to me? Are you hoping that I'll vomit blood and faint? Then you can take the opportunity to be a hero and save the damsel in distress. You'll get both the money and the companion beast. You won't have to return the debt from the past. Wang Lu said with a smile, "Stop dreaming. You can't owe me anything less." Seeing that Wang Lu was fine, Zhou relaxed a lot. "Don't worry. I don't dare say that I'll return it double, but I'll definitely return what I owe. All right, quickly go back and prepare. You can't be careless about this matter. You have to be completely confident. If you feel that something is amiss, don't force yourself," Wang Lu exhorted. "Then I'll head back first. After this is done, I'll have a good gathering with you." Zhou stood up and prepared to leave. Wang Lu sent Zhou to the door and waved goodbye. Only when Zhou disappeared from her sight did she turn around. After closing the back door, Wang Lu leaned against the door and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face turned pale, as though she had collapsed. She slowly leaned against the door and sat down as though she didn't even have the strength to stand up. The light and shadows in the garden changed as a dreamlike figure walked out of the void. The figure's holy and seductive figure coexisted, like a combination of a devil and an angel. It slowly walked in front of Wang Lu. It was actually a guardian that resembled a goddess from Greek mythology. "You're quite a strange person. I've seen many humans. When others do something, they wish for the entire world to know. You paid such a huge price to transfer the lucky star that is of great significance to you to him. Not only did you suffer heavy injuries, you even forced yourself to send him out, aggravating his injuries. Do you have masochistic tendencies?" The guardian lifted Wang Lu's chin with her fingers and whispered into her ear with her coquettish red lips. Wang Lu turned her head with all her might and escaped the guardian's fingers. She calmly said, "I don't need gratitude or pity, so I naturally don't need him to know something pointless." "Then what do you need?" "That man? As long as you are willing to contract with me and combine our strength, not to mention a man, even all the men in the world will prostrate at your feet with just a glance." A charming glint swirled in the guardian's eyes, but her body emitted a holy glow. She reached out to touch Wang Lu's forehead. Chapter 13:26. Wang Lu reached out to push away the guardian's hand and calmly said, "I told you that I won't contract you. Not in the past, not now, and not in the future." The guardian wasn't angry. He retracted his hand and said with a smile, "Don't forget that you aren't an ordinary person. It's very difficult for others to injure you, but once you are injured, it's very difficult for you to recover. External forces can't treat you either. You can only rely on your own body to slowly heal." "I will recover eventually," Wang Lu said. "That's right. Although your injuries are very serious, it's not enough to kill you. It's just a little more time. You will recover eventually." The guardian's eyes gradually narrowed. "However, you probably haven't been injured much. You don't know what will happen after you are injured. Then let me tell you, after you are injured, your luck ability will decrease. With your current injuries, your luck ability might be so low that it's dispensable. Do you want to take the opportunity to kill me? Then let's do it," Wang Lu said indifferently. "Darling, how can I bear to kill you? If I kill you, where can I find another human like you to contract? There shouldn't be a second human in this world who's more suitable to contract with me than you." The guardian's expression gradually turned cold. "However, without the suppression of your luck ability, your sister's power of misfortune will have its effects. With my help, I'm afraid only the two of you will be left in the Wang family. Don't you think that will be fun?" Wang Lu's expression changed this time. She didn't know that her luck ability would greatly weaken after she was injured because such a thing had never happened before. If it was really as the Guardian said, using her strength to strengthen Wang Chan's power of misfortune, the Wang family might really suffer a calamity. Do I have to believe you? Wang Lu forced herself to calm down. Perhaps the Guardian was just bluffing and there was no such thing as her luck ability weakening after being injured. You don't believe me? The Guardian reached out and flicked a coin into Wang Lu's hand. Then, he said, try throwing 10 times. Under normal circumstances, you should be able to throw flowers 10 times, right? Let me see. How many times can you throw this time? 5 or 6. With your injuries, 6 times should be your limit, right? Wang Lu caught the coin and looked at it before throwing it into the air. When she caught it, she realized that it wasn't a flower, but a huge one. It seems that your luck ability is much lower than I thought. The protector laughed. Wang Lu's expression changed as she tossed the coin again. She wanted to throw a flower, but when the coin landed, it was still a 1. Wang Lu threw a few times in a row, but she didn't even throw a single trick. All she threw were ones. The Guardian sighed and said, even I miscalculated. I never expected your sister's power of misfortune to be so strong. After your power of luck weakened, because of her existence, the power of misfortune suppressed your power of luck. Perhaps there's no need for my help. Wang Chan's power can completely bury your Wang family. Wang Lu's expression was extremely ugly. She knew that the Guardian was right. The speed at which Wang Chan's power of misfortune improved exceeded everyone's expectations. When her power of luck was still around, she couldn't sense it. Now that her power of luck had been greatly weakened, Wang Chan's power of misfortune appeared. You no longer have any other choice. By contracting me and obtaining the help of my strength, you can recover your body and suppress Wang Chan's power of misfortune, allowing everything to return to normal. Otherwise, even if Wang Chan's strength isn't enough to destroy the Wang family, I will still help her well. The Guardian was like a devil. His words seemed to have the allure of an abyss. Wang Lu's expression flickered as she was momentarily unable to make a decision. Suddenly, a shout came from the Wang family compound. It was as though something was on fire. The fire was very intense, and soon, thick smoke could be seen soaring into the sky from the garden. What a powerful power of misfortune! It took effect so quickly. The Guardian looked at Wang Lu and continued, actually, I don't understand why you aren't willing to contract with me. The Guardian contract is an equality contract. I won't affect your body, nor will I hinder your life. However, with my strength, you can do many things that you couldn't do in the past. A contract is beneficial to you. Wang Lu bit her lip and didn't answer. However, when she heard all kinds of shouts coming from the Wang family compound, her eyes gradually lost their determination. The Guardian struck while the iron was hot and continued. Now, if you humans want to become a true expert, there are no more than 3 paths. Using mythical fluid or fusing with a Guardian is actually about the same. It will make you half human. If you want to retain your human body, contracting me is undoubtedly the best choice. No, there's another path, Wang Lu said. Oh, what path? The Guardian asked. Advance to the mythical stage as a human, Wang Lu said. The Guardian laughed. That's just a joke. You humans are born with flaws. It's impossible for you to advance to the mythical stage. Advancing to the mythical stage as a human only exists in the imagination of humans. Don't tell me you really think that's possible? I don't think it's possible, but I'm certain that it can succeed. This is because humans have already advanced to the mythical stage with their own abilities, Wang Lu said. Are you talking about Human Emperor? It's unknown if Human Emperor is pure human, but I guess he's definitely not pure human. At most, he's like, half human and half Guardian. As the Guardian walked towards Wang Lu, he said with a smile, instead of having such unrealistic dreams, why don't you think about how to resolve the problem in front of you? I'm your only choice. Wang Lu wanted to say something, but she was interrupted by a voice. I think it's good to dream. What if it comes true? A figure appeared out of thin air in front of Wang Lu, blocking the Guardian who was about to walk in front of her. Zhouwen, why are you? Although she could only see his back, Wang Lu still recognized Zhou when at a glance. I caused trouble, so of course I have to settle it. If it were in the past, Zhou might have been fooled by Wang Lu, but as Truth Listener's strength became stronger, Wang Lu's disguise in front of him had been betrayed by her intense inner thoughts. However, because Zhou had heard her inner thoughts and knew that her injuries couldn't be treated by external forces, he didn't immediately treat Wang Lu. He never expected such a thing to happen. I'm afraid you can't handle the trouble here. The Guardian looked at Zhou Wan and curled his lips. You probably don't know who I am, right? Chapter 1327. Who are you? Is that important? From my point of view, it doesn't matter who you are, Zhou said calmly. The ignorant are fearless. Do you think I'm one of those trash guardians that teleported over from the dimension? I'm a guardian that survived from the mythical era. Even if you can advance to the terror grade with the help of the mythical serum, you are just a baby holding a huge saber, the guardian said as she stared at Zhou. Are you done? If you're done, prepare to be on your way, Zhou said as he summoned the Dragon King armor and Shura saber. Zhou knew guardians very well. A truly powerful guardian, even one that had survived from the mythical era, would be suppressed by Earth's laws. Wasn't the drought nirvana awesome? She could only be trapped in the fiend tomb. Without a human contracting her, she was suppressed to the point that she couldn't even leave the fiend tomb. No matter how powerful this guardian was in the past, it was impossible for her to be at the calamity grade since she wasn't suppressed without a contract. At most, she was at the terror grade. You are Thief King? Upon seeing the Dragon King armor and Shura saber, the guardian immediately recognized Zhou Wan and couldn't help but change his expression. The name of the Thief King was so popular on Earth that even the guardians knew of it. The Dragon King armor and Shura saber were like human emperor's dragon-imprisoned armor and immortal culling sword. They were easily recognized. Of course, the Emperor's sword was also easily recognized. However, it lacked offensive capabilities, so Zhou usually didn't use it. Thief King had defeated Ya and Immortal consecutively. They were both top terror grade guardians. Although this guardian believed that she wasn't inferior to them, she didn't dare say that she could definitely win. However, this wasn't the only thing that alarmed the guardian. This was because Zhou was clearly a pure human. Without any external help, he had easily broken through to the terror grade. Only then did the guardian realize that the person Wang Lu had previously mentioned wasn't human emperor. It was likely Zhou in front of her. Can a pure human really advance to the mythical stage by himself? That's impossible. He must have used some external force. It's just that I can't tell. Perhaps it's a mythical serum that doesn't have obvious characteristics of dimensional creatures, the guardian thought. Zhou didn't wish to speak to her at all as he slashed out with the Shura saber. The protector's figure flickered and a series of phantoms appeared. In an instant, her figure was everywhere in the courtyard. It was impossible to tell which one was real and which one was fake. The phantoms attacked Zhou Wan from all directions. They all had terrifying auras and powerful essence energy fluctuations. It was impossible to tell which attack was real and which was fake. It was naturally impossible for a single person to defend against all the attacks at the same time. I have the power of omniscient nature. You can't even tell which one is my real body. How are you going to fight me? The phantoms spoke in unison. Even their voices were exactly the same. Zhou Wan's expression didn't change as he ignored all the attacks. The Shura saber slashed at an empty spot. Transcendent flying immortal instantly cleaved a fake mountain into two in a domineering manner. The attacks that filled the sky were like bubbles when they landed on Zhou Wan. They failed to injure him at all. Behind the fake mountain, the guardian widened her eyes in disbelief. Her body retreated uncontrollably as a line of blood slowly spread in the middle of her forehead. After taking a few steps back, her leg touched a rock. Her body immediately split into two and she fell to the ground, staining the grass beside her with blood. In the myths, even the six-eared macaque of the four chaotic monkeys couldn't fool Truth Listener, much less the guardian. Zhou Wan put away the Shura saber and Dragon King armor. Without looking at the corpse, he came in front of Wang Lu and asked, Is there no other way to recover from your injuries? Wang Lu shook her head. No, the power of luck makes it very difficult for me to be injured. However, once I'm injured, I can only recover on my own. I can't treat it. I've previously tried using pill essences and healing powers, but it was useless. Thank you, Zhou said with a sigh. If it wasn't for lending him a companion beast, Wang Lu wouldn't have been injured. Didn't you help me now? We're even. Wang Lu turned to look at the smoking spot in the Wang family and said anxiously, Now isn't the time to talk about this. I have to think of a way to resolve the bad luck. On little Chan, leave this to me. I'll take Wang Chan away for a period of time. When you recover, send her back, Zhou said as he flashed away. How can that do? Wang Lu wanted to stop him, but Zhou was already gone. After 5 years, Wang Chan had already grown into a slender and elegant girl. At that moment, Wang Chan was in a state of panic. She could sense that the power of misfortune on her was taking effect. The commotion that was happening in the Wang family was closely related to her power of misfortune. Wang Chan, do you still recognize me? Zhou teleported in front of Wang Chan and called out softly. Zhou. Wang Chan was delighted when she saw Zhou. She wanted to walk over, but she immediately retreated and said anxiously, Don't come over. Leave quickly. Don't approach me. It's dangerous. Don't be afraid. I know there's a problem with you. Your sister got me here to resolve the problem with you. Follow me. Zhou extended his hand in front of Wang Chan. Wang Chan hesitated for a moment before handing her hand to Zhou's palm. Zhou held Wang Chan's hand and used the Singularity Universe's interstellar teleportation ability to arrive on the moon. Stand beside me. Don't go too far. Zhou used Human Emperor's power. The powerful vitality emitted by Human Emperor's power allowed Wang Chan to survive on the moon without dying from a lack of oxygen. Is this the moon? Wang Chan looked around curiously. This place was somewhat different from what she had imagined. Yes, follow me. Zhou led Wang Chan towards Goddess Supreme Yin's temple. Wang Chan's power of misfortune was too strong. It wasn't appropriate for Zhou to bring her anywhere. Therefore, he could only go to Moon God first, hoping that he could ask Goddess Supreme Yin to take Wang Chan in for a period of time. As long as Wang Lu recovered from her injuries and the power of luck worked again, Wang Chan could return. Bam! Zhou didn't walk far when he suddenly kicked his other leg with the tip of his foot, causing him to fall to the ground with his face on the ground. Even Zhou didn't know why he was dazed for a moment and didn't react in time. Zhou, are you all right? Wang Chan hurriedly came over to help Zhou. I'm fine. Just as Zhou said that he was fine, Wang Chan slammed into his face because she wasn't used to the different gravity environment from Earth. Chapter 1328. Thankfully, Zhou's physique was strong enough, so his face was fine. Otherwise, if he were to be hit in the nose, he would probably be so sore that tears would flow out. He might even have a nosebleed. Sorry. Wang Chan apologized repeatedly and didn't dare approach Zhou. She tried her best to maintain a distance. It's fine. Zhou silently summoned his luck companion beasts and wore them. He thought to himself, luck and misfortune are really special abilities. Wang Chan's level isn't high, but she can have such a huge impact. Even I will be affected by her. Perhaps luck can really dodge the 7th strike. That will definitely kill me. With this in mind, Zhou thought of the companion beast Wang Lu had transferred to him. He hadn't been in the mood to take a look because of Wang Lu, so he wasn't sure what companion beast it was. Invincible Lucky Star, Terror, Evolvable, Life Providence, Lucky Star Life Soul, Super Lucky Star Wheel of Destiny, Invincible Lucky Starterer Transformation, Luck Descend Strength, 99 Speed, 99 Constitution, 99 Essence Energy, 99 Talent Skill, Lucky Wheel, Lucky Moment, Hand of Luck Companion Form. So after Zhou saw its stats, he was stunned. These stats were just too terrifying. It wasn't that Zhou didn't have top-notch terror companion beasts that could evolve, but he really didn't have any that added luck. The crux was that ordinary lucky companion beasts only had a life providence that added luck. This thing actually added luck to every ability. It was simply an excellent grade companion beast with the luck attribute. Just the life providence added 36 luck. Coupled with the augmentation of the life soul, wheel of destiny, and terror transformation, Zhouwen estimated that his luck would exceed 100. Even if it didn't exceed 100, it definitely reached the limit of his luck. That's not right. Wang Lu doesn't even contract a guardian and hasn't advanced to the mythical stage. How'd she get this terror-grade companion beast? Zhouwen was alarmed. However, with Invincible Lucky Star, a companion beast that could almost be called a divine artifact, he could basically give up on this path if he couldn't dodge the calamity-grade bullet. Unless he had an evasive skill that was even more ridiculous than heavenly robes, it was impossible to dodge. Zhouwen walked as he looked at his phone. Wang Chan carefully followed behind Zhouwen, not daring to get too close, afraid that her power of misfortune would affect Zhouwen. Gua! A huge toad suddenly appeared, giving Wang Chan a fright. She took a few steps back and stepped on Zhouwen's foot before slamming into him. Sorry. Wang Chan apologized repeatedly. Don't ever say sorry to me again, okay? With my relationship with your sister, there's no need for you to apologize to me. Zhouwen found Wang Chan somewhat pitiful when he saw her like this. Living under such pressure all the time, one would either explode in despair and become an extremely evil person who disregards everything, or suffer from mental problems due to the constant pressure. It was already pretty good that Wang Chan's heart hadn't changed over the years. When Wang Chan heard that, she widened her eyes at Zhouwen and asked in surprise, "Could it be that you are going to be my brother-in-law?" Zhouwen nearly choked on his saliva. After taking a deep breath, he said, "I'm saying that I have a good relationship with your sister. She has helped me a lot, so you don't have to stand on ceremony with me." With that said, Zhouwen was just about to greet Chang. When Chang, he flicked out her tongue and swept Zhouwen and Wang Chan over. She placed them on her back and headed for Goddess Supreme Yin's temple. Soon, the two of them arrived in front of Goddess Supreme Yin's temple. "Goddess, I'm here to see you." Zhouwen got off the toad's back and shouted into the temple. "How are you here to see me? You want my life." Goddess Supreme Yin's unfriendly voice sounded from inside. "Goddess, what do you mean?" Zhouwen pretended not to know. Goddess Supreme Yin said coldly, "Did you bring a natural calamity body to my moon because you think I'm living too comfortably on the moon? Do you want the moon to explode on the spot?" "Goddess, you're being too serious. She's just a little lass. She's not as powerful as you say. You're so resourceful. Didn't you easily resolve a small problem like hers?" Zhouwen flattered him, but his flattery clearly wasn't good. Goddess Supreme Yin smiled and said, "It's been hard on you. It's obvious that you haven't flattered anyone before. Your flattery is too fake. However, since you've said so, leave her behind." "You really agree?" Zhouwen was slightly taken aback. He never expected Goddess Supreme Yin to be so agreeable. "Why? You want to take her away?" Goddess Supreme Yin said with a faint smile. "I don't mean that. I just feel that her physique is a little special after all. Won't she cause you trouble if she stays here? Actually, I have a golden apple that can change one's life providence. I just want to borrow your place to change her life providence here," Zhouwen said as he took out the golden apple. This thing had always been useless to him. Wang Chan's life providence wasn't very good. Even if he settled it this time, there would be another problem if Wang Lu was injured again. Change her life providence? Was your head kicked by a donkey? Or did you get hit in the head by a door when you were young? You want to change the rare, innate calamity physique? Goddess Tying said angrily. Although this thing is very rare, it only has disadvantages and no benefits. What's the point of keeping it? Zhouwen could tell from Goddess Supreme Yin's words that Wang Chan's body of misfortune wasn't simple, so he deliberately said that. Goddess Supreme Yin said, "You are really ignorant. Don't you know the logic of extreme yang giving rise to yin, and extreme yin giving rise to yang? The calamity body doesn't seem to have any benefits, but don't you think about it? As the owner of the calamity body, she has never been affected. Is this normal? I'm just an ignorant mortal. Please give me some pointers, goddess." Zhouwen was secretly delighted. He never expected to find someone who knew the ropes. If he could resolve Wang Chan's problem, He would have an explanation when he met Wang Lu. You finally said something pleasant. Goddess Supreme, Yin pushed open the door and walked out. She sized up Wang Chan and said, in the division of dimensional creatures, there's no mortal, legendary, or epic. There's only one mythical level. However, mythical levels are also divided. Terror, calamity, and apocalypse. These are the three levels of the mythical stage. Your so-called mythical stage is only the initial form of the mythical stage. I know all that, Zhou said. Since you know all that, then tell me. Goddess Supreme, Yin rolled her eyes at him. Continue. I'll shut up. Zhou shut his mouth. But be it terror, calamity, or apocalypse, do you know the source of these? Goddess Supreme, Yin didn't let Zhou speak, but she asked him again. Zhou closed his mouth and shook his head. That's calamity. Only when humans encounter calamity will they feel fear. Only then will they realize how terrifying a calamity is. Only then will they fear the arrival of the apocalypse. In essence, calamity is actually the source of the mythical stage. Now, do you understand how precious calamity is? Goddess Supreme, Yin said. Chapter 1329. This was also the first time Wang Chan had heard someone say that her calamity body was good. This was something that had never happened before. Wang Chan widened her eyes as she looked at Goddess Supreme Yin, filled with anticipation and fear of disappointment. Goddess, according to what you said, wouldn't Wang Chan, who has a calamity body, be very powerful? Then, can she advance to the calamity or apocalypse stage with her calamity body in the future? Zhou asked on Wang Chan's behalf. To his surprise, Goddess Supreme Yin rolled her eyes at him and said, "What are you thinking about? I only said that the calamity attribute is very precious, but I didn't say that having a calamity body is definitely very strong. You humans can't even reach the mythical stage, much less the calamity stage." Midway through her sentence, Goddess Supreme Yin glanced at Zhou and suddenly paused before continuing. Generally speaking, it's unlikely for humans to advance to the mythical stage unless they use external help. Let's put it this way. Calamity, hope, luck, and lustful attributes are very precious and special attributes. With these attributes, one is innately much stronger than ordinary people. They have greater potential, but how far they can go ultimately depends on their personal cultivation. Goddess Supreme Yin explained. Wang Chan revealed a disappointed expression when she heard Goddess Supreme Yin's words. Since it was very difficult for her to advance to the mythical stage like ordinary people, and the power of the calamity body would only grow stronger and affect the people around her more and more, it was useless no matter how strong the attribute was. Goddess, although the calamity attribute is very strong, it has a very bad effect on the people around you. Is there any way to resolve this effect? Zhou hurriedly asked. It's impossible to completely eliminate the effects. However, it's not difficult to control a little without causing too much trouble. Goddess Supreme Yin said confidently. Zhou and Wang Chan were overjoyed. Wang Chan knelt down and kowtowed to Goddess Supreme Yin, but before she could kowtow, she was lifted up by an invisible force. Don't kowtow to me. I still want to live for a few more years. Goddess Supreme Yin turned to Zhou and said, "Take your golden apple with you and scram as far as you can. Leave this young lady to me." Goddess Supreme Yin left Wang Chan behind. Wang Chan, are you willing to stay? Zhou asked for Wang Chan's permission first. I want to stay. Wang Chan was very opinionated. Since Wang Chan volunteered to stay, Zhou didn't say anything else. He stayed on the moon for another day. Firstly, he wanted to see how Goddess Supreme Yin planned on modifying Wang Chan. Secondly, he wanted to test if the invincible Lucky Star was useful. After entering the game again, Zhou put on all the lucky companion beasts he could wear, including Invincible Lucky Star. He also summoned those he couldn't wear to boost his courage. He saw the Metal Guard and Golden Battle God again. Just like before, Zhou didn't move at all. Just his heavenly robe fluttered and he dodged all the bullets. However, the true test had just begun. When the Calamity grade gunshots sounded. Zhou heart nearly jumped out of his chest. I dodged it. Zhou saw the heavenly robe move without any wind as it dodged the calamity-grade bullet with a blood-colored avatar's body. But that didn't prove anything. He had dodged the first 2 shots, but he was still killed in the end. Shot after shot, 6 consecutive shots hit empty air. None of them hit the blood-colored avatar's body. The crucial 7th strike is finally here. Can I dodge it? Zhou was extremely nervous. Bam! The gunshot sounded again. Zhou had already used all his means, but he couldn't see the trajectory of the 7th shot. However, after the gunshot, Zhou saw a white halo appear around the blood-colored avatar. It was like a large hula hoop around the blood-colored avatar's body. It floated around the blood-colored avatar's chest, but it failed to injure the blood-colored avatar at all. Zhou took a careful look and was immediately alarmed. It wasn't a halo at all, but the 7th bullet. It circled the blood-colored avatar at the speed of light, but it couldn't touch the blood-colored avatar's body. This is the power of the heavenly robe augmented by invincible lucky star. Zhou was pleasantly surprised. The 7th shot didn't drop unless it killed. Now, the 7th bullet was still flying at the speed of light in a bid to approach the blood-colored avatar's body. However, every time the bullet approached the blood-colored avatar, the heavenly robe would wield its power and deflect Zhou's body. The bullet couldn't hit its target, so it could only chase after the blood-colored avatar. Therefore, it looked like a halo. Boom! The calamity-grade gunshot sounded again, but it still couldn't touch Zhou. The bullets that shot over were all dodged by the heavenly robe. Zhou didn't leave. He stood there and experimented. He wanted to know how many shots he could dodge with the invincible lucky star and other lucky equipment. He wanted to know how likely it was to achieve such an effect. The outcome delighted Zhou even more. After the 2nd round of 7 bullets was fired, it still failed to hit the blood-colored avatar protected by the heavenly robe. The 7th bullet of the 2nd round was like the 1st round of bullets. It constantly circled the blood-colored avatar's body, but it failed to injure it. Zhou experimented again and again, and the outcome left him pleasantly surprised. He dodged 6 rounds of bullets in a row. Up to now, not a single sure-kill bullet could injure the blood-colored avatar. Instead, the blood-colored avatar seemed to have 6 halos around it. This left Zhou somewhat depressed. The bullets kept circling him in a bid to take his life. A single mistake could lead to an irreversible outcome. This worry was just too heavy. No one knew if the bullets would shoot into the blood-colored avatar's body in the next second. With such powerful dodging abilities, it wasn't difficult to reach the Golden Palace's door. Even an ordinary person could complete the mission. Unfortunately, there was no such thing as a reward for reaching the Golden Palace in-game. It was useless even if Zhou reached it. Seeing that Wang Quan had nothing special to do on the moon and wasn't in any danger, Zhou got up and returned to Earth. Now, he was filled with confidence. He was completely confident that he could bring Hui Haifeng and the others up the rankings, so there was no need for him to waste any more time. After returning to Earth, Zhou sent Wang Lu a message to tell her not to worry about Wang Quan. He then explained the general situation to her. Upon hearing that Wang Quan was fine and that she might be able to stop the calamity powers on her, Wang Lu was equally delighted. She even exhorted Zhou to be careful. She was fine and told him not to worry. Only then did Zhou heave a sigh of relief. But he had something else on his mind. I have to end this after all. Zhou's luck wasn't good. He traveled for nearly 72 hours before returning to Luoyang. Chapter 1330. Wei Yang and the other officers were a little anxious. They had been ordered to help Zhou ascend the rankings, but ever since they came here, they had only seen Zhou once. It was no wonder they had such thoughts. When they learned that Zhou had returned, the officers immediately came to see him. Mr. Zhou, when we setting off for Venus? Wei Yang was the calmest among the officers, but he was the captain. He had the obligation to speak on behalf of all the officers. Most of these questions were asked on behalf of the officers. Tomorrow, Zhou naturally hoped that would be as soon as possible. After understanding this matter, he still had other things to do. More and more powerful creatures appeared. He had to think of a way to make Slaughter's terror transformation as soon as possible. He felt uneasy if he didn't advance to the terror grade. Tomorrow, all the officers were stunned. Although they hoped that Zhou could complete the mission as soon as possible, they didn't have much time to study and practice if they were in such a rush tomorrow. It was indeed a little rushed. Mr. Zhou, isn't tomorrow a little rushed? Wei Yong said with a frown. There's no rush. Prepare yourselves. We will set off at 7 tomorrow morning. We won't miss breakfast. Zhou planned on returning for breakfast after he ascended the rankings. However, Wei Yong and company misunderstood him. They thought that Zhou meant to wake up early and have breakfast. Wei Yong and company looked at Zhou and asked, Mr. Zhou, how are we going to practice tonight? Practice? What practice? Zhou was slightly taken aback as he asked Wei Yong in puzzlement. We'll be heading to Venus tomorrow morning. Don't we need to practice our teamwork tonight? Wei Yang's expressionless face revealed a rare look of puzzlement. There's no need to practice. Zhou could do it alone. Furthermore, his life level would be the highest. Calamity-grade bullets would only attack him and not Wei Yong and company. There was no point in practicing. Then what do you want us to prepare? Wei Yong asked. Just prepare. Go back and take a shower and change into clean clothes. It's best if there's the Presidential Manor's logo. That way, people will know that someone from the Presidential Manor is challenging the level. That'll do. Zhou thought of Hui Haifeng's suggestion and said to them, It's best if you stick a flag on your back and write something like Federation Soldier. It'll be easier for people to know who you are representing. We are all officers, at least colonels. How can there be any lowly soldiers? An officer said, I didn't say that you have to be called Federation Soldiers. You can write something like the Federation Death Squad. Of course, this is just my suggestion. Zhou hurriedly changed his words when he realized that there was something wrong with the officer's gazes. The name Death Squad was too unlucky. It was no wonder that the officers looked at him strangely. Zhou ignored them and returned, leaving Wei Yong and company staring at each other. Captain, is this Zhou reliable? There's no plan or cooperation. Why is he bringing us up? Do you want to die? An officer said indignantly. Exactly, what does he take us for? Suicide Squad? This is clearly sending us to our deaths. The officers didn't believe that they could reach the rankings without even a single terror grade. Now that he saw how casual Zhou was, he found it even more unbelievable. Let's do as Mr. Zhou said. Go back and prepare. We'll gather tomorrow morning, Wei Yong said expressionlessly. Although he had his doubts, he was still willing to believe in Hui Haifeng's orders. The next morning, Wei Yong and the rest of the soldiers had already gathered before 7. When Zhou arrived, they were already lined up. You guys really wrote it. Zhou realized that everyone was carrying a flag on their backs. The flag was in the style of the League flag, but on the flag, there were the words Federation Death Squad, written in white. Clearly, it had been added later. Isn't this your order, Mr. Zhou? Wei Yong said. They had previously felt that the name was inauspicious, but when they thought about how the chances of returning alive with Zhou were slim, they realized that they would only be cannon fodder. The name of the Suicide Squad was appropriate, so they used it. Very good. Let's set off then. It won't be too late to come back for breakfast after we get on the rankings. With that said, Zhou walked towards the Rubik's Cube. Only then did everyone understand that when Zhou said that he wouldn't delay breakfast, he meant that he would eat it when he returned. All right, we can only be starving ghosts now, an officer muttered softly. Zhou heard it, but he didn't place it in his ears. This was because Truth Listener had given him too many voices. He had no interest in listening to what the officers were saying as he walked towards the Rubik's Cube. After Zhou and company left Overseer Manor, and Sheng immediately secretly reported to Tianzhua. Overseer, they have set off. Do you think those people can really get on the rankings? And Tianzhua stared in the direction Zhou had left in. He held a cup of tea, but didn't drink it. Of course, with young Master around, he will definitely be able to get on the rankings. It just depends on the method, and Sheng answered firmly. You sure are confident in him, and Tianzhua said coldly. It's not that I'm confident, but especially confident. Young Master Wen's strength is there for all to see. If the Holy Spirit Association and the League of Defender can get on the rankings, young Master Wen will definitely be able to as well. Furthermore, his ranking will definitely be above theirs, and Sheng said with certainty. Let's hope so, and Tianzhua said without batting an eyelid. The Rubik's Cube lit up again, immediately attracting the attention of many humans. Someone is challenging the Venus dimensional zone again. Who will it be this time? Everyone felt uneasy as they watched the live stream in anticipation. When they saw more than 10 officers carrying the Federation flag on their backs, everyone was stunned. Federation Suicide Squad. This name is really not particular. Not only is it not particular, but they're practically sick of living. I recognize those officers. They should be from the president's side. Their appearance here means that the presidential residence finally wants to get on the rankings. I know those officers too. They are indeed elites on the president's side, but they should only be at the mythical stage, right? Isn't it a dream to get on the rankings with just these people? Who's that young man in casual clothes? Why does he look familiar? Finally, someone focused their attention on Zhou Wan, who was the only one in the team who wasn't wearing a military uniform. Zhou Wan was wearing a heavenly robe. Although it wrapped him quite tightly, it didn't cover his head. Soon, someone recognized him. That's Zhou Wan, Luoyang's Zhou Wan. He's second only to the two gods of war in Luoyang, and Tianzhua and Lung Zongjing. So the president invited Zhou Wan, but even if it's Zhou Wan, it's impossible for him to get on the rankings with so many mythical officers. Isn't the president's decision a little too casual? Chapter 1331. The Holy Spirit Association and the League of Defender were also paying attention to this battle. They naturally weren't as superficial as the average person. They didn't believe that Hui Haifeng would make such a low-level mistake, but they were puzzled by Hui Haifeng's decision to send such a lineup. Although there weren't many Terra-grade experts in the presidential palace, he couldn't just send a group of mythical creatures to make up the numbers, right? This wasn't something that could be resolved with numbers. However, Zhou Wan unhurriedly led Wei Yang and company to the metal hemispherical building's platform. Then, he dripped his blood and entered the dimensional zone. Drip your blood in? This is an endless battle. The presidential palace can't even find a spatial expert. Yet, they actually dare to challenge the rankings? As everyone discussed, Zhou Wan had already given the order to kill the metal guards. Hui Haifeng was right. Wei Yang and company were indeed elites. Not only were they well-trained, but they were also very powerful. Due to the use of the mythical liquid, they had already advanced to the mythical stage. In a one-on-one situation, or even a one-on-two situation, they weren't at a disadvantage when fighting the metal guards. Zhou Wan saw them skillfully block the door. The metal guards that rushed out were quickly finished off by them. Occasionally, one or two would slip through the net, but they were killed by the officers who dealt the finishing blow. At a glance, Zhou Wan knew that they had put in a lot of practice and research. Furthermore, their research was rather accurate. However, this method was only useful against the metal guards. It was useless against the golden battle god, much less a calamity-grade creature. Furthermore, Zhou Wan felt that this speed was too slow. Yet, was still waiting for him to return for breakfast. Pulling out the bamboo blade, Zhou Wan used it as a sword and used the heart-defying sword technique. With a slash, all the metal guards squeezed inside the door were slain at the waist. After 6 strikes, all the metal guards were killed. The alarm on one of the doors sounded. "Mr. Zhou, what should we do?" Wei Yang asked. The soldiers looked at Zhou Wan. "Wait." With that said, Zhou Wan held bamboo blade and walked towards the door where the alarm sounded. The golden battle god's tall and majestic body walked out and fired at Zhou Wan. The Terra-grade bullet was many times faster than the metal guard's bullets. Zhou Wan held the bamboo blade and ignored the bullet as he charged forward. Just as everyone thought that Zhou Wan had gone mad, they saw that the bullet seemed to turn on its own and avoid his body. Without giving Golden Battle God a chance to fire a second shot, Zhou Wan's bamboo blade had already stabbed into Golden Battle God's body. Just one slash had shattered the energy source in its body, causing the Golden War god to lose its mobility and die. It didn't even need a second slash. Zhou knew Golden Battle god too well. It was difficult for others to find the location of the energy source immediately, but Zhou didn't even need to look for it. He knew where it was at a glance. Although they were displeased with Zhou, the officers still marveled when they saw Zhou kill a Golden Battle god so cleanly. That bullet just now seemed a little strange. Cave Era frowned. So what if it's a little odd? This is only a Terror Grade Golden Battle god. In front of a Calamity Grade bullet, this move will probably be useless, said Hermit. Golden Battle gods appeared one after another. Zhou quickly charged forward with bamboo blade in hand. Each strike was so clean that it left one's heart cold. None of the Golden Battle gods could withstand a single strike from him. Furthermore, the situation was rather strange. It was as though every bullet shot by the Golden Battle god automatically circled around Zhou. Of course, the main reason why he could kill them in one strike was that Zhou knew the Golden Battle god too well. Not only could he attack their weaknesses, but he could also directly destroy their energy source. If it were anyone else, even if they were stronger, it would be very difficult for them to achieve Zhou's results. This seemed very ordinary to Zhou, but it shocked the Federation. Zhou wore the heavenly robe, but there were no signs of him fusing with a guardian or using mythical fluid. He seemed to be a pure human. However, a pure human had killed 6 Terror-grade Golden Battle gods in the blink of an eye. No one had ever seen such a scene. Although Human Emperor was known as the strongest human, no one knew if Human Emperor was pure human. Many of Zhou's performances were obvious to all. Professor Gu, Zhou should be pure human, right? Apart from Human Emperor, I've never heard of a pure human having such achievements. He killed 6 Golden Battle gods in a moment with one strike. Is such a standard really something a pure human can achieve? The Federation Freedom Investigation Bureau's host said excitedly, with her eyes lit up. Professor Gu coughed lightly and explained. After using mythical fluid, there are obvious mutations, but there are also some that aren't obvious. This is especially so for mythical fluid made from humanoid dimensional creatures. After using it, there are almost no characteristics of the creatures. It's also possible that Zhou, when used that kind of mythical fluid, is there no possibility of a pure human? The host asked indignantly. Clearly, she was also a nationalist and hoped that high-level pure human experts could appear. Of course, there's still a possibility. However, based on the information humans currently have, it's indeed very difficult. There's no precedent of success. Professor Gu seemed to feel that there was no need to continue this topic. He continued, the information on the Terror-grade Golden Battle God has been mostly grasped. It's not difficult for the top experts of the Federation to kill them. The next Calamity-grade bullet will be Zhou and company's greatest test. After a pause, Professor Gu said, I have a guess. Although it's just a guess, other than that, I can't think of any other possibility. Professor Gu, what's your guess? The host hurriedly asked. Professor Gu said, mythical creatures clearly aren't of much use in the Venus Dimensional Zone. Why did they bring so many mythical officers in? Furthermore, we've already analyzed it in the past. This Calamity-grade creature can only kill one person at a time. Even the 7th shot won't be able to kill a second person. Are you saying that these mythical officers are actually used to block bullets? To ultimately achieve the goal of getting Zhou on the rankings? The host's eyes lit up. I've never said that. I'm just pointing out the doubts in my heart for everyone's reference, Professor Gu said indifferently. However, Professor Gu's guess immediately made many viewers have a bad association. They felt that it was definitely the case. Otherwise, why would Zhou bring so many useless mythical officers? It was obvious that he was looking for a shield. Instantly, there was endless cursing on the internet. Many people clearly couldn't tolerate the thought of using the lives of so many soldiers to exchange for a ranking on the rankings. Hui Haifeng instantly became the target of attacks from the internet. He received more attention than the day he was inaugurated as the Federation president. Even some officers had similar thoughts. They couldn't help but secretly retreat, not daring to get too close to Zhou Wan, afraid that they would be used as a shield. Bang! The calamity grade gunshot finally sounded. Chapter 1332. I'll go in first. Wait a while before entering. Maintain a distance of at least 100 meters from me. Remember not to stand behind me. It's best if you enter through another door. After Zhou Wan said that to Wei Yang and company, he walked towards one of the doors. After taking a few steps, he heard a gunshot. The calamity-grade bullet was too fast. No one could see it at all. They only saw Zhou Wan's figure move a distance as though he had teleported. And behind Zhou Wan, a hole had been pierced through the metal wall. He dodged it? Teleportation? This doesn't make sense. The hearts of the spectators skipped a beat as Xia Luchuan said in surprise. It was no wonder that Xia Luchuan was surprised. Teleportation was indeed fast, but activating it required a certain amount of time. This activation time was enough to be shot countless times. Xia Xuanyue's tense nerves relaxed a little. After some thought, she said, "It shouldn't be teleportation. It looks more like he's very fast. It's impossible to dodge a calamity-grade bullet purely with speed. No matter how fast a Terra grade is, it's impossible for it to be faster than a calamity grade. Furthermore, the speed of a bullet is considered fast among calamity grades," Xia Luchuan said. "If it was teleportation, there wouldn't be a trajectory left behind, but I saw the remnant trajectory," Xia Xinhua said. "That's strange. From the existing data, a calamity grade stats have a crushing advantage over a Terra grade." Xia Luchuan naturally believed in Xia Xinhua because she had very strong eyesight. It wasn't just the Xia family. Many large factions found it unbelievable when they saw Zhou Wan dodge a calamity-grade bullet. Spatial powers? Kavera looked at Jiyue. Jiyue shook his head and said, "No, teleportation isn't that fast. He can't dodge a calamity-grade bullet unless he can predict the arrival of the bullet in advance. That's impossible. There's no pattern to the timing of a calamity-grade bullet's firing. Speed? That's impossible, right?" Kavera looked at the screen with a solemn expression. Such a conversation was constantly repeated in the various factions. No one believed that Zhou Wan could dodge a calamity-grade bullet with his speed. There were Terra grades that were known for their speed in all the major factions, but none of them could match a calamity grade. They weren't even close. Zhou Wan dodged the bullet and walked through the door. Wei Yang and company now knew why Zhou Wan didn't allow them to stand behind him. Wei Yang led them through another door and took another path. Indeed, with Zhou Wan attracting the attention of the calamity-grade creature, no bullets attacked Wei Yang and company. They headed straight for the Golden Palace. Not long after Zhou Wan entered the tunnel, a second bullet was fired at him, but he still managed to dodge it. With a heavenly robe and his luck that exceeded 100, his lucky dodge was probably maxed out. Without moving, the heavenly robe brought his body to dodge the bullets. This time, the various factions were paying attention. With something to focus on, it was easier to determine. This time, they were certain that Zhou Wan hadn't used any teleportation abilities. Instead, he had dodged the bullets with pure speed. That's impossible. How can he be so fast? Kavera couldn't believe that Zhou Wan was that fast. It's not speed. Immortal, who had been silent all this while, suddenly said, "Bang!" Gunshots rang out incessantly as Zhou Wan dodged the bullets again and again. Not a single bullet managed to hit his body. It's amazing. It's really amazing. This speed is probably comparable to the speed of light, right? It's a miracle that a human can reach such speed. Professor Gu, what do you think? The host said excitedly. Yes, it's fast. However, no matter how fast he is, he can't dodge the 7th shot that will kill him. Professor Gu continued his analysis. For a Terra grade to have the speed to dodge a calamity grade bullet, the expenditure will definitely be immense. According to the previous analysis, the 7th shot is a bullet that will never stop unless it kills. Therefore, it's impossible for Zhou Wan to dodge the 7th shot. From the looks of it, his existence should only be bait. With Zhou Wan stalling for time, The other Suicide Squad members can rush to the Golden Palace. Do you mean that Joan will die under the seventh shot? The host asked in disbelief. At the very least, I don't see any possibility of him surviving, Professor Gu answered with certainty. Then let's wait and see if Joan will fall under the seventh shot. No matter what, it's already very impressive that he can come this far. For the glory of the Federation and humanity, they have sacrificed too much. The host seemed to have a good impression of Joan. Upon hearing Professor Gu's analysis, most people found it reasonable, but those who truly understood Joan knew that it was impossible for him to do such a thing. He wasn't that kind of person. However, there were still many people who were worried for Joan. At the very least, Joan looked no different from a human. Compared to the Guardians and the members of the Holy Spirit Association, they were more inclined toward Joan. Furthermore, Joan was representing the Federation government this time. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that he was representing humanity. Soon, Joan dodged the first 6 shots. There was silence in front of the screen as everyone held their breaths. All they could hear was their hearts pounding. Bam! When the 7th shot sounded, many people couldn't help but tremble. There were even soft-hearted girls who screamed and covered their faces, not daring to see the outcome. This. Blood Shaman looked at the scene and was tongue-tied. He couldn't even speak. The other members of the League of Defender also widened their eyes as their pupils constricted, as though they had seen something unbelievable. Almost everyone who saw this scene had the same expression. They opened their mouths, wanting to say something, but they didn't know what to say to express their emotions. In the Venus dimensional zone, Joan's heavenly robe fluttered like an immortal. A shining halo circled around him, constantly flashing with light. What's that? Could it be that the bullet is revolving around Joan? Someone stammered. Although the average person could only see the halo and not the spinning bullet, as long as they weren't too stupid, they could roughly guess what it was. What the hell? The bullet is revolving around Joan, but it doesn't hit him. Could it be that he has an affair with a calamity-grade creature on Venus? Li Xian widened his mouth in shock, enough to swallow a goose egg. How'd he do it? Xia Xianhua was pleasantly surprised. Professor Gu's eyeballs nearly fell to the ground as he remained silent for a long time. Different people had the same question, but no one could answer them. Chapter 1333. Joan charged toward the Golden Palace with the spinning bullets around him. The calamity-grade bullets shot at him again, but he dodged them all. Before the 7th bullet of the 2nd round was fired, Joan had already reached the steps of the Golden Palace. However, he did not climb up the steps. Instead, he stopped in front of them. This time, Joan had accepted Hui Haifeng's bribe and was working for Hui Haifeng. It wasn't appropriate for him to walk up himself, nor could he get his name on the rankings. Furthermore, Joan didn't know if the Rubik's Cube would directly determine their names when they entered the rankings or if they could write it themselves. It would be better if he could casually write it, but if the Rubik's Cube determined who he was, Joan would have to be careful. He couldn't casually enter the rankings with other identities. When people saw Joan dodge bullet after bullet and finally arrive in front of the Golden Palace, they were excited, imagining that Joan was finally reaching the peak. However, to their surprise, Joan stopped in front of the steps. What was he doing? He could have climbed up before the 7th shot of the 2nd round. If he stopped, wouldn't he have to endure the 2nd sure-kill bullet? While everyone was puzzled, another gunshot rang out. In the blink of an eye, another halo formed by rapidly spinning bullets appeared around Joan. Holy sh*T. That works. Xiao Luchuan jumped up. No one had ever seen someone play like this. He clearly didn't have to take the sure-kill bullet, but he insisted on stopping. Too showy. We're both children of the same parents, but how can you be so showy? What is he trying to do? Who are you showing off to? Is Joan related to that dimensional creature? Why didn't you kill him? Joan stood in front of the steps as his body fluttered with the heavenly robe. The halo around him shimmered, making him look like an immortal that had descended to the mortal world. He dodged one bullet after another. The 3rd bullet formed a halo around him, but it still couldn't hurt him. Everyone was starting to get numb. Wei Yang and company were only at the mythical stage after all. They didn't have the speed of a Terrorgrade. They only ran over when the sixth bullet halo formed around Zhou Wen. Wei Yang and company couldn't help but be taken aback when they saw Zhou Wen dancing in front of the stairs like an immortal with a bullet halo surrounding him. "Go up," Zhou Wen said to Wei Yang. Only then did the spectators realize that Zhou Wen wasn't going up himself. He was waiting for Wei Yang and company. F***CKME. What's the meaning of this? Instead of going up himself, he's waiting for someone else to go up. Is he playing for someone else? This isn't called a substitute player. It should be called a guarantee, right? Guaranteed entry? You can give it to me? What a show. Everyone was rendered speechless as they looked at Zhou Wen, who was surrounded by the halo like a perfected immortal. Their expressions turned abnormally odd. The scene was a bit different. The creatures that had tried to get onto the leaderboard before had all died horribly. The Holy Spirit Society and the League of Defender being able to make it onto the leaderboard was quite shocking. However, when it came to Zhou Wen, it was like he was escorting a primary school student across the road. The scene was extremely jarring. Wei Yang nodded at Zhou Wen before taking down the flag on his back. The other members of the Suicide Squad followed Wei Yang's example. They took down the flag and held it in their hands as they followed Wei Yang up the stairs. After Wei Yang and company reached the top, they raised the flag and waved it. More than 10 flags flew up together. When Hui Haifeng saw this scene, he spat out the mouthful of water he had just drunk. Previously, when he told Zhou Wen to bring the flag up, he was just joking. He never expected Zhou Wen to really do it. However, this scene that should have made one's blood boil was a little funny no matter how he looked at it. After Wei Yang and company reached the top, the calamity-grade creature immediately stopped shooting. According to the program, a metal ball flew out from the door and landed in Wei Yang's hands. The Rubik's Cube screen switched to the leaderboard. On the leaderboard, another name appeared, Federal Suicide Squad. People didn't care about the name. Their gazes were all on the back of the Federation Suicide Squad. They wanted to know how many stars they could obtain from such a challenge. It's actually 3 stars. People realized that there were 3 shining stars at the back, instantly surpassing the Holy Spirit Society and the League of Defenders in 3rd place. Awesome. Hui Haifeng felt refreshed. He had originally thought that 1 star would be enough, but now that he had surpassed the Holy Spirit Society and the League of Defenders, he felt relieved. Now, everyone knew the influence of the League of Defenders on the Federation. The influence of the Presidential Palace was too small. This ranking might be a good start. Soon, the Presidential Palace arranged for a press conference. Many reporters raised many sharp questions on the spot. For example, was inviting Zhou Wen to maintain his ranking considered a humiliation to the Federation government? After all, everyone knew that Zhou Wen was 3rd in Luoyang. However, after this battle, in the hearts of many people, Zhou Wen was no longer just ranked 3rd in Luoyang. Hui Haifeng wasn't angry at all. He stared at them and answered the question. This question is very stupid. Isn't Zhou Wen human? Isn't he a part of the Federation? As a member of the people of the Federation, I should make my due contributions to the Federation. Is this also wrong? President, is Zhou Wen a pure human? President, why are those bullets revolving around Zhou Wen? What kind of magical abilities does Zhou Wen have? While Hui Haifeng was holding a press conference, Zhou Wen was very vexed. The 6 bullets kept flying around him. Even after he left the Venus Dimensional Zone, the bullets didn't stop attacking him. In the past, as long as he quit the game, the surrounding bullets would naturally disappear. In reality, it was clearly different. These bullets wouldn't disappear into thin air. Zhou Wen's plan to return for breakfast was ruined. All he could do was think of a way to deal with the 6 bullets around him. Otherwise, he would have to keep wearing the heavenly robe and lucky equipment. He definitely had to return the invincible lucky star. It was impossible for him to keep wearing it. He tried all sorts of methods, even walking to the side of the mountain and letting the bullets hit the mountain, but it was useless. Calamity-grade bullets seemed to be able to penetrate everything. Nothing could stop them. they definitely wouldn't stop until they killed their target. The only solution seemed to be to find a scapegoat and use his life to block the bullets. Zhou Wen's heart suddenly stirred. Wait, this might not be a bad thing. These calamity-grade bullets will constantly surround me. From another perspective, they are equivalent to my weapons. 6 calamity-grade bullets, as Zhou Wen thought about it. His face was about to bloom with joy. Chapter 1334. These are 6 sure-kill bullets. Even a calamity-grade dragon turtle can't block them. If I can find a calamity-grade creature. The premise is that it can't kill me. I just want to rush forward and hug it. 6 bullets should be able to kill a calamity, right? Zhou Wen thought as he took out his phone and entered the dungeon. The outcome disappointed him. There were no bullets surrounding the blood-colored avatar. In that case, I can only find calamity-grade creatures in reality. Zhou Wen immediately felt that the danger was a little too high. Heavenly Robe's lucky evasion was indeed very powerful, but there were limits to it. It was fine if it was a single target attack like bullets, but even if it was a large-scale arrow rain, it should be very effective. However, if he encountered a large-scale fire or ice attack, there was no way to dodge. No matter how high his lucky evasion rate was, it was impossible for him to dodge it. With this in mind, there were fewer places he could go. The few known calamities didn't seem to be easy to approach. It's best I don't go to Chess Mountain. The last time, Enchantress couldn't leave the Fiend Tomb and was intimidated by me. If I really rush up, there's no way I can dodge the heavenly fire. Zhou Wen thought about it and felt that no matter which calamity grade he provoked in reality, it would be very dangerous. After all, calamities had calamity domains and single target attacks were rare. Is there no calamity grade like the dragon turtle? Zhou Wen searched through his memories, hoping to find a suitable target. Suddenly, Zhou Wen thought of a place, Forbidden City, which he had previously been to. The current owner of Forbidden City was likely the one inside the log. According to what Zhou Wen knew, she had the power of lightning and liked to use lightning to strike people. That thing seemed to be dodged. With Zhou Wen's current lucky equipment and Heavenly Robe's dodge ability, he should be able to dodge it. She nearly killed me last time. It's time to settle the score. Zhou Wen thought to himself, but he didn't dare head to Forbidden City immediately. After returning to Overseer's office, Zhou Wen first went to find the antelope. This fellow was still lazy all day. Apart from eating and sleeping, he didn't see it do anything else. Zhou Wen was surrounded by bullets. When he entered, he instantly blasted the wall near the door into smithereens. The antelope looked up at him, and when its gaze landed on the bullets, it seemed somewhat surprised. Ahem, brother antelope, have you been feeling better recently? Do you want me to buy you some supplements? Zhou Wen said with a light cough. I can't handle the bullets on you. Find someone else. The antelope lazily closed its eyes again. No, I don't mean that. I just want to ask you if I can avoid the thunder and lightning of the guy in the Forbidden City with my equipment. Zhou Wen knew that the antelope knew a lot about that fellow. For safety's sake, he asked it first. With the Heavenly Robe and high luck, you can indeed dodge calamity-grade attacks. However, it's limited to attacks that can be dodged. It's useless against a large-scale, indiscriminate attack. The antelope seriously looked at Zhou Wen's equipment and the 6 bullets before continuing. The person in the Forbidden City doesn't just attack a single target. Just as Zhou Wen was somewhat disappointed, he heard the antelope say, but it's not like you don't have a chance. If your plan is good, your 6 bullets might really make her suffer. What do you want? Zhou Wen felt that something was amiss. The antelope seemed to be interested in this matter, so he stared at it warily and asked. The antelope chuckled. I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. My injuries are too serious. Back at Mount Laojun, I almost lost my life. Although I've recovered a little now, it's too slow. Furthermore, it's very difficult for me to fully recover without the help of external forces. There are a lot of good things in the Forbidden City, and a few of them are helpful to my injuries. If you cooperate with me, we'll split the things we get from Forbidden City in half fairly. How about that? What kind of fair distribution is this? I'm bearing the risk, and even have to put in the effort to fight her. You just moved your mouth and took advantage of it, and You want 50%? Zhou naturally didn't agree. Without me, you wouldn't have a chance to approach her at all. This is key technology. I'm using my technology to invest. Getting 50% isn't much, the antelope said with a smile. If you aren't afraid of death, you can give it a try yourself. Tell me first, how can I approach her safely? Zhou asked. It's definitely impossible to fight her head-on. She can power the heavenly cycle-stellar array. When the time comes, you probably won't even be able to see her, much less approach her. It's even a problem if you can escape from the heavenly cycle-stellar array. The antelope lowered its voice and said, the only way is to sneak and attack. With the power of these 6 bullets, finish her off when she's off guard. Are you crazy? Sneak and attack on a calamity grade? Do you think it's possible to not be discovered? Zhou didn't believe it was as simple as the antelope made it out to be. You definitely can't do it yourself. You need my help, so 50% isn't much, the antelope said. What good things are there in Forbidden City? Zhou was considering if he should take the risk. There are many good things. After Purple Star Lord returns to Forbidden City, many hidden dimensional zones will open. The antelope's saliva splattered as it told Zhou about the good things inside. After listening for a while, Zhou was truly tempted. All right, we'll split it 50-50. However, you have to tell me the complete plan first. I'll decide if I want to go. If I go, I'll definitely give you 50%. Zhou ultimately couldn't resist the temptation. The antelope was very straightforward this time, as it told Zhou its plan in full detail. The weather in the capital wasn't very good during this season. It was very dry, and the sandstorm was strong. When the wind blew, one's face would itch. It was because there was too much sand in the air. Most people weren't willing to go out at this time. Even the shops by the side of the road had their doors and windows closed. The pedestrians on the road came and went in a hurry. However, there was a blonde girl who looked to be 12 or 13 years old on the street. Her clothes were abnormally clean as she slowly strolled along the road. As she walked, she looked around as though she was looking for something. The girl was very beautiful. No matter how one looked at her, there was nothing wrong with her. She was so perfect that she didn't look human. Instead, she looked like a work of art. Young lady, the sandstorm outside is so strong. Come in and have a cup of milk tea to avoid the wind. The owner of a milk tea shop seemed to have noticed the blonde girl early on. When the blonde girl walked to his shop, he opened the door against the wind and greeted her. Although the blonde girl didn't mind the sandstorm, she still walked in when she smelled the sweet fragrance in the milk tea shop and saw the owner's friendly smile. Chapter 1335. Little girl, what would you like to drink? The most famous thing in my shop is the silk stocking milk tea. Of course, the pearl milk tea here is also very good. The boss introduced with a smile. Can I have all of them? The blonde girl looked at the beautiful pictures on the brochure and asked expectantly. Of course, let's have a cup of my best silk stocking milk tea first. The smile on the boss's face became wider, and he began to prepare the milk tea. Soon, the boss brought a cup of milk tea to the blonde girl and placed it on the table. Try it. I promise you won't be disappointed. Milk tea as smooth and soft as silk stockings. You will never be able to drink it in the second shop in Kyoto. The blonde girl took a sip of the milk tea, then closed her eyes with a happy expression on her face. Isn't it delicious? Asked the boss. And it's really delicious. The blonde girl took one sip after another and quickly drank a cup of milk tea. Then she looked at the boss and asked, You just said that there's pearl milk tea. Is it as good as this? Try it and you will know. The boss smiled and made another cup of pearl milk tea for the blonde girl. This is also delicious. The blonde girl held the cup, and her eyes seemed to melt with happiness. After a while, the girl drank another cup of milk tea. Do you want to drink something else? The boss came over and asked. Thank you, but no, I should go. The blonde girl said and walked out. Wait a minute, you haven't paid yet. The boss quickly stopped the blonde girl. Pay? What is that? The girl looked at the boss of the milk tea shop in confusion. Tian really didn't know what money was. The last time she came to Earth was a long time ago, and someone took care of her at that time. Tian had never tried to use things like money. Don't play dumb there. The owner's expression immediately changed. His friendly expression disappeared and was replaced by a fierce one. He reached out to grab Tiantian's arm and said in an evil tone, "How dare you drink milk tea when you don't have money? Be a good girl." The boss's palm touched Tiantian's arm, and the sound stopped. His fingertips lit up with a golden light. The golden light instantly spread to his entire body, turning his body into gold. It was real gold, and it was still shining with a golden light. It was like a 24K pure gold statue, and it still had a fierce expression on its face as it reached out to grab Tiantian. Tiantian looked at the owner who had turned into a golden statue, sighed, shook her head, and walked out of the shop. After a while, a customer came into the milk tea shop. When he saw the golden statue, he was shocked. Zhou brought Ye, the chick, and the antelope to the capital. As he walked, he browsed the news about the capital online. Originally, he wanted to see the recent situation of the Forbidden City and see if there were any humans exploring the Forbidden City. It would be best if he could get information about the Forbidden City. But who knew that before he could find any information on the Forbidden City, he would see many headlines on the front pages of the media, all of which were reporting news about the gold man. Zhou took a casual look and roughly knew that there had suddenly been many gold men in the capital. These gold men looked exactly the same as real people, but they were made of high-purity gold. However, according to the investigation of the capital's police department, every gold statue was made from a real person. As for the people who looked like the gold statues, they had all disappeared. The entire capital was discussing this matter. Some people suspected that a powerful dimensional creature had entered the capital and turned those people into gold men. Others said that this was a deliberate prank by someone. Some people even said that this was a sign of the birth of a calamity-grade creature. In any case, there were all kinds of rumors, causing everyone in the capital to panic. Many people didn't dare go out, afraid that they would become gold men. It's no wonder there are so few people on the streets of the capital. So that's why. Only then did Zhou come to a realization. He had been wondering why the capital looked much more desolate than before when he came to the capital. In the beginning, Zhou imagined that after Xia Jiuwang's death, the Xia family had declined, causing the capital to decline as well. It turned out that it was caused by the gold men. Antelope, what do you think about these gold men? Zhou read the news about the gold men to the antelope. After hearing that, the antelope frowned in thought. Although turning people into gold isn't a very powerful ability, it's also a very rare ability. If a creature really has such an ability, it's probably above the mythical stage. The possibility of it being at the terror grade is relatively high. Since it's possible above the mythical stage, why is the possibility of it being at the terror grade higher? Can it be at the calamity grade? Zhou asked in puzzlement. If it's at the calamity grade, it wouldn't be these few people turning into gold. Furthermore, as long as a calamity grade isn't bored, why would it turn ordinary people into gold? The antelope said. Zhou thought about it and agreed. However, this matter had nothing to do with them. Their destination was Forbidden City, so they wouldn't stay in the capital for long. It was unlikely they would be so unlucky as to encounter the monster that could turn people into gold. As Tiantian walked, she sensed Zhou's aura. After arriving on Earth, she first went to Tiantian's hut before heading all the way to the capital. As Yana had sent Zhou's information to Tiantian before she died, she could sense Zhou's aura. She knew that Zhou was approaching, so she prepared to wait for him here. Tiantian originally only wanted to wait quietly for Zhou's arrival, but she never expected humans to degenerate to such an extent. Every human who encountered her turned into gold men without exception. In fact, it wasn't Tiantian who had taken the initiative to turn them into gold men. It was just an additional power that her body automatically produced. As long as it was a creature with malicious intent or a sin, they would turn into gold men when they touched her. If it was a good person with a kind heart, there wouldn't be any problems when they encountered her. But up to now, no one had turned into gold when they encountered Tiantian. Has humanity degenerated to such an extent? I can't even find a good person. It's no wonder that bad person killed Yana. He must be a super baddie. Tian had already sensed Zhou Wen's arrival and walked towards him. From afar, she saw Zhou Wen carrying and walking on the street with the antelope and bird. Tian walked towards him. As long as such a baddie touches me, he will definitely immediately turn into gold. It could be considered revenge for Yana, Tian thought as she deliberately walked toward Zhou Wen. When Zhou Wen saw Tian, he couldn't help but take a few more looks. This blonde girl was just too beautiful. She was like a doll, so beautiful that there was nothing wrong with her. When Tian brushed past Zhou Wen, she seemed to accidentally slip as she staggered and fell towards him. Chapter 1336. Without any hesitation, Zhou Wen dodged to the side. Without seeing if Tian had fallen, he turned around and teleported away. Do you think I'm a fool? I've been in my terror form the entire time. Ordinary people can't see me at all. Furthermore, there are calamity-grade bullets spinning around me. Not only can this girl see me, but she can even pass through the bullets and fall on me. How can such a person slip? Are you kidding me? Zhou Wen carried and the chick on his shoulder as he teleported away. The antelope wasn't slow either. It was so fast that its shadow couldn't be seen. It was only faster than Zhou Wen's teleportation. Surprisingly, they ran in the same direction, which was the direction of the Forbidden City. Clearly, they believed that Tian's strength was extremely terrifying. If they were to escape normally, there was a high chance that they wouldn't be able to escape. If they fled to Forbidden City, they might be able to catch a breather. Tian was still in a daze. She believed that a normal person would definitely support her, but what she saw as normal wasn't normal at all. Ordinary people couldn't see Zhou Wen, much less pass through the bullet halo. In Tian's eyes, this was extremely normal. Bam! Tian fell to the ground and watched in a daze as Zhou Wen and the antelope disappeared. After a while, she got up hatefully. He's indeed a bad person. He didn't even help me up. This made Tian even more determined to avenge Yana. After sensing Zhou Wen's location, Tian chased after him. When Zhou Wen teleported to Forbidden City, he realized that the antelope was already there. It was even faster than him. She didn't chase after me? Zhou Wen asked when he saw the antelope standing outside Forbidden City without entering. It didn't look flustered either. I don't think so. I didn't sense her following, the antelope said with certainty. Clearly, it was very confident in its senses. Could that girl be the culprit who turned humans into gold? Zhou Wen guessed. Maybe. Anyway, she's not simple. Even I can't see through her. She's definitely at the calamity grade. The antelope looked around and didn't find any traces of Tian. Let's enter the city first. Even if she catches up, she should be restricted inside, Zhou Wen said as he walked towards the entrance of Forbidden City. Don't use the main entrance. Follow me. The antelope stopped Zhou Wen and followed the wall in another direction. They walked ahead with Tian not far behind them. However, Zhou Wen and the antelope didn't see Tian. It was as though she was invisible. What are they doing sneaking around? Tian walked to Zhou Wen's side. She originally wanted to push him and turn him into gold, but when she saw how secretive they were, she was somewhat curious and retracted her hand. Tian squatted by the side and watched as the antelope and Zhou Wen crawled into Forbidden City through a dog hole. She thought to herself, what are they trying to do? When Zhou Wen drilled in, he tried his best to be careful, but the dog hole was just too small. A portion of the wall was still shattered by his bullets. Fortunately, after they went in, they saw an empty courtyard. Apart from some plants, there were no other living things. That golden-haired girl probably hasn't caught up. Zhou Wen lay in the grass and used Truth Listener to listen. He didn't discover any traces of the golden-haired girl in the vicinity. Only then did he feel a little relieved. However, Zhou Wen didn't know that Tian was squatting beside him. She was less than a foot away from him and could touch his hair if she reached out. From the looks of it, she probably isn't here for us. Otherwise, she wouldn't have given up so easily. The antelope crawled in the grass and darted its eyes around, but it didn't discover Tian. It spat on the ground and cursed. Nothing good ever happens when I follow you out. Tian squatted there and watched their conversation as though she was very interested. How do you know that the girl is here for me? Perhaps she's here for you, Zhou said with a twitch of his lips. Pooey, I haven't been out for thousands of years. When I did, I encountered an unlucky fellow like you. How could I have the chance to offend such a powerful enemy? The antelope said unhappily. Let's not talk about this for now. Anyway, she hasn't caught up to us. Let's follow the plan and deal with Purple Star Lady first, Zhou suggested. All right, let's follow the plan. Don't make any mistakes. Otherwise, both of us will be in trouble. The current Purple Star Lady isn't the same as when she just escaped, the antelope exhorted again. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Zhou used Truth Listener to scan his surroundings. Truth Listener had received too much sound information. Zhou still couldn't analyze all the sounds, but he could already accurately locate a portion of the sounds he wanted to hear. It was much better than before. Soon, Zhou heard everything that was happening nearby. Forbidden City was indeed very different from before. Although it was still 8-armed Neza's layout, there were now many independent dimensional zones in the city. The situation was similar to Dragon Gate Grotto. It was a large dimensional zone that contained many small dimensional zones. It was only because Truth Listener's strength had improved greatly that Zhou wouldn't have been able to hear the situation outside the yard. This was because the yard itself was a dimensional zone. Strange, what is this place? There aren't any dimensional creatures. Why is this a small dimensional zone? As Zhou spoke, he glanced at the dog hole they had entered from and continued. Furthermore, how can there be a dog hole in Forbidden City that has already turned into a dimensional zone? The dog hole is a part of Forbidden City, so of course it can exist. As for this place, you should have seen a map of Forbidden City in the past, right? Don't you know that this is the legendary Cold Palace? The antelope said. Cold Palace. Zhou was slightly taken aback. He had naturally heard of the Cold Palace. It was a place used by the emperor to imprison concubines who had committed crimes. However, it was empty and he didn't find any concubines. If it wasn't for the fact that the Cold Palace is isolated from the outside world, we would have long been discovered by Purple Star Lady after causing such a huge commotion here. This is one of the few places that won't attract Purple Star Lady's attention. However, we have to be quick. If Purple Star Lady were to take a look here on a whim, we would be in trouble. As the antelope spoke, it slammed its head into the door of the Cold Palace. After shattering the door, it ran out. The dimensional creatures outside were immediately attracted by it as they chased after it. Zhou followed the agreement and waited for the antelope to lure the dimensional creatures away and cause chaos before sneaking in another direction. Tian looked in the direction the antelope had left in before looking in the direction Zhou had gone. Finally, she walked toward Zhou. Chapter 1337. Purple Star Lord, is this how you treat an old friend and savior? The antelope shouted as it ran. From time to time, it would kick the dimensional creatures in front of it, tearing the soldiers in astral armor apart. It looked very impressive. However, there were too many soldiers in Forbidden City. The ones the antelope killed were just a drop in the bucket. More and more soldiers in astral armor surged over, and there were more and more of them. These soldiers were also strange. When there were only 1 or 2 soldiers, they looked very ordinary and didn't have much combat strength. However, when there were more soldiers, each soldier's combat strength became stronger and stronger. Furthermore, it seemed like there was no limit. Why aren't you waiting for death at Mount Laojun? Why are you here? Purple Star Lord's voice sounded from the Hall of Supreme Harmony. Pooey, I'm still in my prime. It won't be a problem for me to live another 1,000 lifetimes. Even if you die 100 times, I won't die, the antelope said as it spat. The fact that you can speak means that you have already lost the bet with him. What's the point of living longer? You might as well die. If I were you, I would just slam my head against the wall to prevent myself from embarrassing myself, Purple Star Lord said coldly. Purple Star Lord seemed to have hit the antelope's soft spot. The antelope immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation. That's because I found it boring to win, so I deliberately let him win. Otherwise, how could I have lost? Besides, what does this have to do with you? Since when was it your turn to spout nonsense? You should worry about yourself. In the future, open your eyes wide and watch carefully. Otherwise, you will be cheated again. Say that again? Purple Star Lord seemed to be truly enraged. I told you to be careful and not be cheated again. Is there anything wrong with that? This is also for your own good. It's to prevent you from being cheated again. If the mighty Purple Star Lord were to be abandoned, you would suffer a fate worse than death. You would be covered in snot and tears. It's just too unsightly. Even an outsider like me can't stand it. Not only did the antelope say that, but it also said more. Boom, boom. Bolts of purple lightning descended from the sky and bombarded the antelope. F*CK. Little Xing Xing, are you serious? The antelope jumped and dodged, dodging the lightning strikes again and again in a sorry state. As it jumped, it shouted, "Little Xing Xing, Grandpa Goat is your savior no matter what. Without Grandpa Goat, you would still be buried in eating dirt. Now that you've grown up, you actually dare to use the purple sky's divine lightning to strike Grandpa Goat? Do you want Grandpa Goat to spank you?" Rumble. The lightning exploded like a bolt from the blue. Patches of purple lightning descended from the sky. If the sea of lightning was reversed, it would not stop until the antelope was smashed into pieces. Your grandpa antelope came to visit you out of goodwill, yet you're so cruel and unscrupulous. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have carried you over even if I had that brat carry a bag of sh*t. The antelope used all sorts of despicable words. With a clang, the door to the Hall of Supreme Harmony was slammed open. A charred piece of wood tore through the door and stood on the roof of the Hall of Supreme Harmony like a lightning rod. After the charred piece of wood appeared, the sky above Forbidden City emitted a purple glow. Clouds condensed as the stars in the sky emitted their radiance. They overlapped as they descended from the sky, illuminating the entire Forbidden City. Now, it wasn't just lightning that descended, but thousands of stars. They were like countless crisscrossing beams of light that slashed at the antelope. Little Xing Xing, do you really want me dead? The antelope let out a strange cry as its body moved rapidly like a phantom. It used the buildings in Forbidden City to block the terrifying starlight array. The buildings that were originally protected by the nomological powers of the dimensional zone and were almost indestructible were easily penetrated by the starlight. Soon, the starlight sliced the antelope's body, causing it to let out a tragic cry. According to his agreement with the antelope, Zhouwen constantly changed his position and route. In the starlight array, he was unobstructed all the way. Soon, he arrived near the Hall of Supreme Harmony. However, Zhouwen didn't immediately take action. He hid nearby and waited for the opportunity mentioned by the antelope. Tian also walked over with Zhouwen. The starlight failed to injure her at all, as though the starlight had failed to discover her, just like Zhouwen. There was another explosion in the sky as the stars shifted. The starlight that filled the sky changed. One of the purple stars was like the core of the world. It was surrounded by stars as it shimmered with a strange starlight. When he saw the purple star appear, it was exactly as the antelope had said. Without any hesitation, Zhouwen teleported to the charred wood and hugged it. Zhouwen was very familiar with this piece of wood. Back then, he had carried it all the way to Forbidden City. However, although the size and appearance of the wood were the same as before, its texture was completely different. It still looked charred black, but it was as hard and smooth as jade to the touch. Furthermore, it was abnormally cold. Perhaps all his attention was attracted by the antelope, or perhaps he had reached a critical moment in controlling the heavenly cycle stellar array. Purple Star Lord failed to react in time and was hugged by Zhouwen. Bam! 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 The 6 calamity-grade bullets circling Zhouwen like rings of stars struck the charred wood, leaving 6 bullet holes in it. Zhouwen immediately heard a woman's tragic cry from the charred wood. The heavenly cycle stellar array in the sky immediately dissipated. It's done. Zhou was delighted when the 6 calamity bullets didn't fly out again. Make way! The antelope descended from the sky and kicked the charred wood, causing it to fall to the roof. Then, it opened its mouth and spat out a yellow talisman before pasting it on the charred wood. Zhou had already retreated to the side as he sized up the charred wood that the antelope had pasted on. He saw that the charred wood was constantly trembling violently as though it would shatter at any moment. He couldn't help but be alarmed. Purple Star Lord hadn't died, despite suffering 6 sure-kill bullets. Furthermore, he still had such strength. This fellow's strength was unimaginably terrifying. Now, Zhou was very glad that he hadn't come to settle scores with her alone. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't be able to return today. The yellow talisman on the charred wood constantly shimmered with golden light, as though it was suppressing Purple Star Lord inside. However, seeing how the charred wood was trembling so intensely, Zhou asked worriedly, "Is that yellow talisman all right?" "Don't worry. I guarantee that there's nothing wrong with it. She definitely won't be able to rush out for at least 24 hours. Don't be fooled by the yellow talisman's inconspicuous appearance, but it has a great background. As long as it's pasted on, unless someone helps her tear it off, it's impossible for the 5 Imperial Lords to rush out in a short period of time. Furthermore, she suffered 6 of your bullets. Her injuries are definitely not light. Don't worry and follow me to pick up the treasures," the antelope said smugly. "These 2 fellows are indeed baddies. With me around, how can I let you evil people succeed? I'll definitely make you pay for your evil deeds." Tian came in front of the charred wood and reached out to tear off the yellow talisman. Chapter 1338. Just as Zhou and the antelope were about to head to Forbidden City to search for treasures, they suddenly felt that something was amiss. It was as though the vibrations of the charred wood had stopped. They felt that something was amiss as a chill ran down their spines. They couldn't help but turn their heads. Zhou and the antelope's expressions changed drastically. They saw the yellow talisman that was stuck to the wood wobble down. "Oh well, antelope, did you forget to apply glue?" Zhou gulped and asked with some difficulty. "That thing doesn't seem to need glue, right?" The antelope was somewhat unsure. It couldn't figure out why the yellow talisman had fallen. It shouldn't have fallen after being stuck to it. "Can you stick it on again?" Zhou asked again. Before the antelope could answer him, a clap of thunder in the sky gave him the answer. Purple lightning descended from the sky and directly reduced the yellow talisman to ashes. "Don't tell me that talisman of yours is a fake." As Zhou spoke, he retreated, already in a bid to escape. That shouldn't be the case. The antelope was also retreating. The man and antelope turned around to run, but the starlight in the sky filled the sky. Thousands of starlight enveloped the entire Forbidden City, as though the starlight had isolated the entire Forbidden City from a mortal world. Zhou was alarmed to discover that the Singularity Universe's teleportation ability was unable to teleport him out. All he could do was run towards the Forbidden Zone's entrance. Crack! He heard the sound of wood cracking behind him. When he turned his head, he saw that the charred wood had split into 2. A female guardian dressed in purple armor and a dark purple cloak, looking like a monarch, floated in midair. Her eyes seemed to contain the stars of the universe as she glared angrily at Zhou and the antelope. There were 6 bullet holes on her armor, and blood was oozing out of them. However, from the looks of it, the injuries weren't fatal. With the appearance of Purple Star Lady, the starlight in the sky gathered towards her as though she had become the focus of a spotlight. Everything else turned dim, and only she was the only one with all the starlight. Amidst the intense starlight, blood spurted out from the bullet holes. At the same time, the bullets, which were spinning like drill bits, were sucked out by the starlight and floated in front of the Purple Star Lord. Purple Star Lord's eyes narrowed, and thousands of stars fell down, turning into swords of starlight. They slanted down like a river of stars, flying past Purple Star Lord. The 6 bullets were instantly sliced into pieces by the Stellar Sword River. As for the countless stellar swords, they surged towards Zhou and the antelope at an unbelievable speed, reaching the speed of light. "The wind is tight, pull," the antelope shouted and spat out a talisman. The talisman transformed into a cloud that wrapped around its 4 hooves, causing its speed to increase drastically as it charged towards the gate of Forbidden City. A string of curses ran through Zhou Wen's mind. An antelope could unleash the speed of a calamity grade, so it might be able to compete with Purple Star-Lord in speed. Zhou Wen didn't have that ability, so all he could do was charge forward with all his might. However, the speed of the swords of Stellar Swords was in no way slower than a calamity grade bullet. How could Zhou Wen outrun them? Soon, a large number of swords of Stellar Swords stabbed at his back. Thankfully, his luck stat and Heavenly Robe's lucky dodge came into play. Zhou Wen's heavenly robe fluttered as he constantly dodged the rain of swords. Not a single sword of Stellar Swords could stab him. Zhou Wen didn't feel any joy. Although he hadn't been stabbed to death, Purple Star-Lord looked even more terrifying than the calamity in the Venus Dimensional Zone. It wasn't impossible for him to break through Lucky Dodge. As long as he didn't rush out of Forbidden City, everything was still unknown. It wasn't time to rejoice. The antelope ran extremely fast and almost instantly arrived in front of Forbidden City's gate. However, swords of Stellar Swords descended from the sky, transforming into layers of impenetrable sword walls that completely sealed off the exit. The antelope's body glowed brightly as it opened its mouth and spat out a cloud. The cloud slammed into the sword wall. Although it deflected many swords of Stellar Swords, it ultimately failed to break through. It was dispersed by the Starlight Sword River. The endless sword streams that resembled the Milky Way rushed towards the antelope, immediately causing it to fall into layers of sword formations. It charged left and right, but failed to rush out. "Ahem, Star-Lord, it's just a joke. There's no need to take it seriously, right?" the antelope said to Purple Star-Lord as it blocked the endless sword streams. "Then continue with your joke." With Purple Star-Lord's cold voice, the Starlight Sword River became even more violent. It transformed into a terrifying sword formation that surrounded Zhou Wen and the antelope. Greed is indeed an original sin. I shouldn't have been greedy and followed the antelope to this godforsaken place. Zhou Wen lamented inwardly. Although Lucky Dodge could temporarily save Zhou Wen's life, it was only a dodging ability. It was impossible for Zhou Wen to forcefully break through the sword wall and rush out. However, Zhou Wen was somewhat puzzled. With the antelope's personality, it definitely wouldn't fight a battle it wasn't confident in. Since it was willing to take the risk, it definitely had full confidence. However, the yellow talisman had fallen. This was a little strange. Now wasn't the time to consider this. Zhou Wen's mind raced as he thought of a way to escape. Lucky Dodge could only save his life. It was impossible to crack the Starlight Sword formation. Furthermore, the swords formed from the starlight had already reached the speed of light. Zhou Wen's own speed couldn't keep up, so it was impossible for him to forcefully crack the sword formation. Zhou Wen tried his best to use Truth Listener's ability. In the sword formation, there was much less sound information gathered. Most of the sound information was related to the Starlight Sword formation. After listening for a while, Zhou Wen suddenly realized that the Starlight Sword formation seemed very familiar to him. Isn't this the 28 Lunar Mansion skill? Zhou Wen immediately realized something. Back when he was in the endless sea of stars, he had always wanted to obtain 2 skills. One was Star Stealer, and the other was the 28 Lunar Mansion skill. They were the lowest level skills, but they were abnormally difficult to drop. Up to now, Zhou Wen only had 27 of the 28 skills. He hadn't managed to drop the last one. The 27 Lunar Mansion skills that Zhou Wen had learned were all defensive skills. They weren't offensive, so Zhou Wen didn't connect the two in the beginning. Now that he felt something amiss, he realized that although the Starlight Sword formation was an offensive sword formation, it had the same effect as the Lunar Mansion skill. If the changes in this sword stance are the same as the Lunar Mansion skill, then wouldn't I be able to predict the future? Even if my speed can't keep up with the speed of the Swords of Starlight, I can still predict their location. However, I'm still lacking a Lunar Mansion skill. As Zhou Wen pondered, He used Truth Listener to secretly observe the sword formation. Chapter 1339. Zhou could still rely on his luck to dodge and protect himself, but the antelope relied on its own abilities to withstand the sword formation. Only then did Zhou realize that the antelope was quite powerful. Although the antelope couldn't rush out of the sword formation, it managed to withstand the waves of sword formation attacks. It had all sorts of means. One moment, it spat out lightning, and the next moment, it controlled fire. It was unknown what attribute it had, but it seemed like it could easily control any elemental ability. Although the antelope was already very impressive, it could only barely protect itself in the sword formation. It looked a little pathetic. Tie by jinxing, we were comrades who suffered together back then. There's no need to be so ruthless, right? If you're really angry, you could just beat that punk up to vent your anger. Why make things difficult for an old friend? If you don't feel appeased, I'll help you beat him up. The antelope tried to reason with him. To his surprise, Purple Star Lord didn't fall for it at all. He snorted coldly and said, "We suffered together. To think you have the cheek to say that. Back when we were trapped in the Crystal Palace, we were almost at the end of our rope, but you secretly ate and drank well. You were even afraid of being discovered by us, so you pretended to be half dead. Instead, you tried to trick us into handing over our inheritance. I can't afford to have a friend like you, nor do I have a comrade like you." The antelope's face turned red, but it was thick-skinned after all. It had been through a lot. It coughed lightly to hide its embarrassment and changed the topic. "Let's not talk about the past. The last time I got that punk to dig you out and send you back to Forbidden City, it was really out of good intentions. I originally planned on letting that punk contract you and help you find a good contractor, but who knew it would turn out like that? I still treat you as a friend from the bottom of my heart. I'm thinking of you, tie by jinxing. That punk is a rare genius. Others are fighting for him, but I can't bear to give him to him. I eagerly send him over to you. Him, a person who relies on luck, has the cheek to call himself a rare genius?" Purple Star Lord said mockingly. She could clearly tell that Zhou had relied on luck to dodge the sword formation's attack. Tie by jinxing, ignoring everything else, how many humans can advance to the mythical stage? Even in our era, you haven't seen many, right? He hasn't contracted a guardian yet, so it's not too late for you to contract him now. The antelope tried its best to persuade him, but its situation was worsening. Sword beams had already swept past its body, slicing off its fur. Oh, he advanced to the mythical stage as a pure human. Purple Star Lord finally sized up Zhou seriously. "It's absolutely true. If I, Old Antelope, say anything false, I'll give my head to you as a ball to kick." The antelope swore, wishing it could pour its heart out to Purple Star Lord. "So what if it is? Do I still need to borrow the power of humans? As long as I'm willing, even if I have to contract with a piece of trash, I can still rule the world." Purple Star Lord said indifferently, "You don't have to waste your breath. Even if you can spout lotus flowers today, you will all die without a doubt." After saying that, a crown of stars appeared on Ziwei Star Lord's forehead, and the stars in the sky resonated with it. The stars that were originally hidden in the universe and could not be seen also appeared one after another, almost occupying the entire sky. In the next moment, starlight fell, as if the end of the world had arrived. Everywhere that could be seen with the naked, I was occupied by starlight. F***CK, you old woman. Did I give you face? Do you really think I don't have any? When the antelope saw this scene, it immediately tore off its disguise and returned to its previous hooligan appearance. It opened its mouth and spat out a talisman. At the same time, the blood it spat landed on the talisman, causing it to glow brightly and block the sky above its head. Clang, clang, clang. The starlight landed on the talisman that resembled a canopy. It was like a steel nail had smashed into a steel plate. Half of it had stabbed in, and soon the talisman looked like a hedgehog. Blood constantly seeped out of the antelope's mouth as its essence energy surged into the talisman, forcefully preventing it from shattering. However, Every starlight that stabbed into the talisman caused the antelope's body to tremble. The more starlight landed, the more the antelope's body trembled. The blood from its mouth flowed even more profusely. Purple Star Lady didn't pay attention to Zhou at first. She knew what kind of ability Lucky Dodge had and how to crack it. Under the massive heavenly cycle stellar array, the starlight descended. There was no space to dodge at all. No matter how high Lucky Dodge's chances were, it was useless. It was ultimately impossible to escape death. However, moments later, Purple Star Lady realized that Zhou wasn't dead. She was somewhat surprised as she took a careful look. She couldn't help but be alarmed. Starlight shimmered around Zhou's body as though he was surrounded by a galaxy. The starry sword beams that landed on him fused into the stellar vortex around him like rain falling into the sea, causing it to shine brighter and strengthen. 28 lunar mansions? Purple Star Lady looked at Zhou in surprise. She was the Lady of the Stars, so how could she not recognize what power Zhou was using? As he lacked a lunar mansion skill, Zhou had never used the 28 lunar mansion skills. This time, by studying Purple Star Lady's massive heavenly cycle stellar array, he found the part he lacked and deduced the lunar mansion skill he lacked. Finally, he gathered all 28 lunar mansion skills. Using the singularity universe to destroy the 28 lunar mansion skills and constantly studying the massive heavenly cycle stellar array, he finally understood why the 28 lunar mansion skills were so difficult to drop despite their low levels. These skills weren't as simple as individual skills. Instead, they were like the massive heavenly cycle stellar array. They could form an array formation, and their strength would increase exponentially. Even if it was a low-level skill, its might would be immeasurable after the 28 skills combined into an array formation. However, it was a little different from Purple Star Lady's Starlight Sword Array. The Starlight Sword Array focused on offense, while Zhou's lunar mansions focused on defense. The defensive net formed by the 28 lunar mansions array could not only withstand external forces, but could also absorb external primordial energy for its own use. If it were any other guardian's power, the lunar mansions array might not have been able to withstand it in the beginning, nor would it have absorbed it so smoothly. However, the Starlight Sword Array and the lunar mansions array came from the same source. They could be considered the same attribute. After the starlight entered the lunar mansions array, it was immediately absorbed without any rejection. This made Zhou's lunar mansions array become stronger and stronger. Furthermore, by studying the massive heavenly cycle stellar array, Zhou no longer constantly perfected the lunar mansions, allowing it to constantly improve. After watching for a while, the surprise on Purple Star Lady's face intensified. Zhou's lunar mansions array was no longer limited to the 28 lunar mansions. It had even begun to evolve into the massive heavenly cycle stellar array. Chapter 1340. As they came from the same source, and their trajectories were becoming more and more similar, coupled with the absorption characteristics of the constellation array, she failed to kill Zhou despite his heavenly cycle stellar array being much stronger than Zhou's. Instead, quite a lot of starlight was sucked away. Of course, this was also because Purple Star Lord hadn't targeted Zhou. She had focused most of her attention on the antelope and had originally planned on killing Zhou in passing. That sheep's words aren't completely false. It's one thing for it to know the constellation array, but it was actually able to deduce the massive heavenly cycle stellar array from the constellation array. That's not easy. Purple North Star Lord looked at Zhou with a hint of hesitation. Purple Star Lord naturally wouldn't be willing to contract trash. If she could find a powerful partner who would want to lead a fool to conquer the world. She had only said those words for the antelope to show her determination. Seeing that not only did Zhou know the constellation array, but he could also reverse the heavenly cycle stellar array, Purple Star Lord was somewhat tempted. The essence energy art and skills Zhou, when used, match her abilities very well. Coupled with Zhou's outstanding perceptivity, it would save her a lot of time and trouble if she could contract him. There was another point that was more important. Zhou was already at the mythical stage. After contracting him, Purple Star-Lord no longer needed to hide in the Forbidden City's wood, nor would she be suppressed by Earth's laws. However, thinking back to how Zhou had foiled her plans back then and how she had been plotted against by him this time, she couldn't take it lying down if she let him off. With a thought, the Purple North Star Lord had an idea. He thought to himself, "Aren't you very perceptive and fond of learning? Then I'll let you learn well." Purple Star Lord destroyed the heavenly cycle stellar array and constantly evolved, deliberately showing Zhou the changes. Purple Star Lord's actions weren't really out of good intentions. The universe was endless and there were countless stars. It was almost impossible to completely comprehend the changes of the heavenly cycle stellar array. There was an end to life and a limit to one's brain, but the universe was infinite. With a limited life and brain, one could comprehend the infinite universe. It would be fine if he just wanted to take a peek at it, but if he really wanted to comprehend it completely, it would be like putting the seawater of the Pacific Ocean into a bottle of purified water. It would be strange if the bottle did not explode. The North Star Lord was able to grasp the grand heavenly cycle stellar array because of her innate talent. If she did not have such talent, even she would not dare say that she could remember all the variations of the grand heavenly cycle stellar array. It was impossible for him to remember because it was an endless series of changes. She made up her mind. If Zhou couldn't comprehend the many changes of the heavenly cycle stellar array and gave up midway, it would mean that Zhou's talent was only SOSO. If she killed him, so be it. There was no need to feel pity. If Zhou really continued studying it, he would probably go crazy without her doing anything. At the end of the day, Purple North Star Lord did not wish to let Zhou off. He would die either way. Zhou naturally didn't know what Purple North Star Lord was thinking. However, the massive heavenly cycle stellar array constantly changed in front of him. Beams of starlight fused into his constellation array. Zhou didn't stand on ceremony as he absorbed them and fully comprehended their profundities. Comprehending the infinite with the limited might indeed make one go crazy in the end. But Purple North Star Lord had neglected an important problem. It couldn't be said that she had neglected it. It should be said that she didn't know much about Zhou when sky-stealing, sun-shifting art and the singularity universe. The sky-stealing, sun-shifting art was a kind of ingenious essence energy art that could deceive the heavens. It focused on the overall situation, and the singularity universe simulated the Big Bang, the birth and operation of the universe. When it came to the overall situation of the universe, Zhou's theories might not be inferior to Purple North Star Lord's. However, the singularity universe gave Zhou a huge framework. There weren't many details and content inside. What Zhou lacked were those details and content. Deducing the general framework from the details and slowly filling in the content after knowing the general framework were two completely different concepts. The former was truly using the limited to calculate the infinite. It expended too much mental strength, but the latter was actually just filling in the blanks. The more knowledge he had, the greater the benefits to Zhou. From Purple North Star Lord's point of view, Zhou was deducing from the 28 lunar mansions to the stellar cycle, but in fact, be it the 28 lunar mansions or the stellar cycle, they were all within Zhou's existing framework. From a certain point of view, Zhou was actually standing at the same height as Purple North Star Lord. It wouldn't result in the situation that Purple North Star Lord had imagined. Zhou had learned all the variations of the heavenly cycle stellar array that Purple North Star Lord had displayed in front of Zhou. He directly applied it to his own system, making the lunar mansion's array stronger and more complicated. At that moment, there were countless stellar vortices circling Zhou as though he was protected by the stars. Although it wasn't as dazzling as Purple North Star Lord's, it wasn't to be underestimated. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that Zhou's technique was the minor heavenly cycle stellar array. Purple North Star Lord couldn't help but frown when he saw that the array formation around Zhou was becoming stronger. The many variations of the heavenly cycle stellar array had been fused into his array formation. Is this guy really human? According to Purple North Star Lord's estimation, even if Zhou Wen had 10 heads, he would explode from the heavenly cycle stellar array's variations. However, Zhou Wen seemed completely fine. He was still constantly attempting to study her heavenly cycle stellar array. The heavenly cycle stellar array's variations are endless. I want to see how much you can remember. I don't believe that you have 100 heads. Even if you really have 100 heads, there will still be a time when they are full. Purple North Star Lord accelerated the heavenly cycle stellar array's changes. However, no matter how the heavenly cycle stellar array changed, Zhou Wen seemed unmoved. He placed all the variations into his own system and found the corresponding positions before turning them into his own. The antelope was fighting desperately. Its fur had been sliced by the starlight in many places. Its body was stained with blood, making it look extremely wretched. Not only was Zhou Wen uninjured, but he also obtained immense benefits. The minor heavenly cycle stellar array around him became stronger. In the vicinity, it could even compete with the major heavenly cycle stellar array. Of course, it only looked prettier. Star vortices revolved around Zhou Wen as though the entire universe was revolving around him. In fact, its might was much weaker than the heavenly cycle stellar array. If Purple North Star Lord had really used all his strength to kill Zhou Wen, the minor heavenly cycle stellar array would have long exploded. However, at that moment, Purple North Star Lord didn't suppress Zhou Wen with all his might. Instead, the way he looked at Zhou Wen turned extremely complicated. Although his strength was still far inferior, the minor heavenly cycle stellar array around Zhou Wen had already made Purple North Star Lord waver. Could it be that this person is really, as the antelope said, a once-in-a-lifetime genius? Purple North Star Lord had a different thought. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.